Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Starting off with an absolute banger, "Turn Your Back and Run" by Demon Hunter. But today, I'm not beating the racist allegations today. I can tell you that right now. I am not beating these allegations in the absolute slightest. But quite frankly, uh, I'm tired of sitting here pretending to be like I'm not racist, trying to, you know, appease everybody. Like, at the end of the day, fuck it. I don't care. The only thing that I care about is the fact that there are Americans who are struggling, who are dying, and it seems like the government don't give a fuck about them. And it seems like our side doesn't give a fuck about them in a certain way. And I'm gonna qualify that statement throughout the stream here. But it's just very interesting to me. They have a lot of prominent right wingers, like right wingers who I grew up watching. Granted, that's a lot of right wingers, but genuinely, it's insane to me. And I'm gonna choose my words carefully because I'm not trying to say that these people are against the American people, but this policy in and of itself is inherently anti-nationalist, and I feel like nationalism is exactly what we need right now. I was going to say anti-American, but I feel like that's too harsh. I feel like Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, even Donald Trump, I feel like they're not anti-American, but they are inherently anti-nationalist. This policy in and of itself is anti-nationalist, and them bringing this policy to America is going to be the reason why many Americans are squeezed out of jobs and put onto welfare and put onto EBT and put onto food stamps, okay? The reason why we have a lot of that is because of the fact that people are getting lazy and they don't want to work, so they sit there and they siphon the taxpayer resources through EBT, and then we replace the available jobs with fucking out of nation, low-skilled workers. I tell you right now, I worked at a convenience store. Couldn't think of the name. I worked at a convenience store, a Power Shell, right? And I worked with an Indian, multiple Indians. As a matter of fact, it was me and one other guy were white people there, as far as I know, and like the rest were Indians. And I don't have anything against people inherently for just existing as their race, right? Like, if you have an Indian and he, for lack of a better term, acts white, but you know what I mean when I say that. Like, they have genuine responsibility, they feel a connection to America, they feel like that they need to produce, and they come through here in the legal channels. If somebody, quote unquote, acts white, I have no problem with them, okay? I have zero problem with them because I feel like, and by the way, I fucking hate that. That was termed by the fucking black community, saying like, oh wait, you ain't acting like a black boy, bro. You want to have you want your son to have a father in the household. You don't want to gang bang and all this shit, bro. Man, you a pussy, bitch. That's exactly the mindset that comes behind people who unironically use the term act white whenever they're referring to other black people within that culture. But when, in my specific instance right here that I'm saying it, what I'm trying to say is these people who come over here, maybe, no, I won't say act white. I'll say act American, okay? Because let's face it, the left, these illegal immigrants, they are anti-American. They do not want America. They fucking hate America. And they're coming in here in sheep's clothing. There's so many fucking people who are in church as well. The pastors, the people who lead it, the people who follow. And the only thing that they give a fuck about is, oh, we need to push hippie Jesus. And you know what I mean, the kind of Jesus people say, all he wanted to do was go around and love people. Yeah, but he also flipped tables, whipped people, and literally is the entire reason that he got killed is because of the fact that he sat there and said that he is God and there is no way to heaven except through Jesus Christ, the truth. Amen. Yeah, but no. Anti-Jesus, anti-American. And unfortunately, some people on our side seem to be going towards that direction. And I'm not going to sit here and say that people like Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, the people who have been supporting the H-1Bs, I'm not going to sit here and say that they are equivalent to the left, because that would be entirely disingenuous. That would be that'd be a lefty tactic to sit there and say, oh, you disagree with me, you're a fascist, you're a communist. No, you just disagree with me, and I think you're wrong, and we're going to talk about it. So, first things first here. let me reorganize this. Hang on. I need to reorganize this. You guys are going to be able to see this, but I'm going to look through all of this stuff later. Some of this stuff is, well, I guess it actually makes sense. Let's go over here real quick. So, just to kind of piggyback off of yesterday, the Hodge twins uploaded or posted this post right here. And for the record, first things first, I love the Hodge twins. I got respect for them and what they do. I just don't agree with everything. And that's the beauty of life, baby. We ain't got to agree on everything, all right? But I think that Hodge twins are being a little bit too tough on Trump here. And what I mean by that is right here, we have a post, I assume on Truth Social, by Donald Trump. I'm going to read it out for you. Not in my horrible accent. That's something I got to work on. Impression, accent. I don't fucking care, dude. I can do different accents. I can do a great Scottish accent here and doing all of this for the team. I could take you down to the greatest street of Glasgow and have you have the greatest ice cream chucks we've ever seen. Just be careful of the powdered ice cream. It's not for you. But genuinely though, like, I can't do a Trump accent that's good enough, at least on this microphone. But let me read it. I'm getting sidetracked. The Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. The Democrats cost our country $1.5 trillion with their recent antics of viciously closing our country, while at the same time putting many at risk. And they should pay a fair price. There should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats. Exactly. But the Hodge twins, they've highlighted this part in red, and that's the part where Trump says that they're trying to bring up the Epstein hoax, and they'll do anything to deflect about the shutdown. And in my interpretation, my interpretation is not always the right interpretation. My interpretation, nonetheless, is that when they say he's taken a big L on the Epstein stuff and highlights this section, they're trying to insinuate that Trump is trying to deflect by pointing out they're deflecting, when in all reality, the entirety of the Epstein files that were released, the 20,000 some odd pages, that stuff that was released, okay? It had zero indictments for Trump. It had zero, like, smoking gun evidence that Trump was a pedophile, was for the Epstein files. Of course, he was with Epstein because rich people run together, poor people run together. Sometimes you intermix, sometimes you don't. It's just a fact of life, all right? If one guy is a business entrepreneur with millions and millions of dollars, of course he's going to fucking run with other people who are entrepreneurs who have millions and millions of dollars. It just so happens that the entrepreneur that Epstein was the kind of entrepreneurship that comes with pedophilia, and that's fucking abysmal, right? Fucking abysmal. Absolutely. My only issue with this whole shibata, right, is the fact that this right here feels disingenuous with the Hodge twins take. You know, again, I have nothing against them. Do not harass them. And as a matter of fact, I hate even bringing this up because it feels like I'm punching up, but these are the notable figures in our movement, and I just feel like I have to bring this stuff up and I have to point this stuff out, at least from my perspective. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But at the end of the day, other people have this similar perspective. So I feel like it's important to point this stuff out. It's important to sit here and say, hey, Hodge twins, I don't think that Donald Trump is trying to deflect from the fact that he was a pedophile within the Epstein files. But I also do think that him being in the files 100% makes sense. I don't know. But then you have this first reply right here, where it's a guy, Chef Daddy Kev, 500 followers, not bad. I like that. But it's basically a picture to where this gentleman right here, I assume that's Representative Tim Burchett. I don't know him by name, but I'll just assume. Breaking, there it is. Democrats just blocked Representative Tim Burchett's push to bring the Epstein files straight to the House floor. Burchett says, I made the motion. They blocked it. If there was something on Trump, they would have released it. And that's true. That's true. Like, think about it this way. This is the part that makes it very hard to believe the Democrats. It's very, very difficult to fucking believe the left wing. And what that is the fact that they lie. Okay? The fact that they sit here and they say things that aren't true. And then when it comes an opportunity for them to verify what they're saying could be true, to get people on their side, to make their points valid, they have no grounds to do that, with very little exceptions, okay? There are a few moments where right wingers fuck up so bad that left wingers are like, hey, look, see, we're right. And we're like, yeah, I can't argue with you on that one. Simultaneously, though, it happens so frequently on the left that they lie, they propagandize, and then when it's time for them to validify their lie, to be like, it's like, okay, let's go ahead and give you a microphone so you have a chance to explain what it is that you want to do. Let's go ahead and give you a platform so that you can validify your ideology, your speech. And you know what they do? They kill us, they attack us, they bloody us, they destroy us, and they want to sit there and say, you need to turn down the temperature. As a matter of fact, I'll say it like this. I think conservatives need to turn up the temperature. As a matter of fact, I'm not saying insurrection, I'm not saying assassinations, I'm not saying terrorism. Do not do any of that. But what I am saying, if somebody comes up at these Antifa places, I saw Chael Sonnen on Gutfeld. He said it perfectly. Him and a group of his MMA buddies, just no guns. They'll go in there and they'll smite that fucking riot down instantaneously. And yes, that's what we need. Except I would prefer if they had guns as a backup. You know what I'm saying? Just in case, because you never know. You never know. Send a bunch of MMA fighters in there with fucking rifles and handguns and see how quickly that fucking thing disperses, because they can get you from a range, and then if you want to get in close quarters, they'll choke you the fuck out. Or we should at least train our fucking agents and soldiers to do like in hardcore MMA. And I mean, they have great training as is, but you can never have enough training, in my opinion. You can always be better. You can always train to be better. That is something that we must understand as a species. The only person that was at a perfect level was Jesus Christ. Nobody in existence ever will ever be sinless and as perfect as he was. But yet there is still such a wide gap between where we are and where Jesus is that we can still get better every single day. And we might get high up there, and we might like train, do good, and we will still never reach that perfection. But that's okay, because that's the point. We're supposed to be working towards that perfection, knowing that we can't get to it, but knowing that as we get closer, we will be better as people. That right there is what I need Americans and humans to understand. It's not about being perfect. It's about trying to get as close to perfection as you can. And then when you fall, you ask for forgiveness and you get back up. Man, I love root beer. Okay. So I just wanted to add that on because I saw that when I was scrolling today, and I felt like it was important to bring that up. Because the Hodge twins are such a popular duo of figures within the conservative movement, when they say stuff like this, I feel like it's important to talk about it, to call it out, and to make sure that it's at least in the sanitization of light. And what that means is, like, the only way you can tell if a perspective or an ideology is good or bad is if you put it in light, okay? Because bad ideologies, they shrivel up and crumble within light. And by light, I mean Jesus. I mean the morals that Jesus gives us, right? And maybe not specifically that, but surely something adjacent to where it's like something that is holy, pure, of God, shown onto these. And the good takes, okay, they're good, but the bad takes shrivel up and die. And I just want to make sure that we shine light on this. I can't say if it's going to be good or bad. I don't agree with it, but that doesn't mean good or bad. That just means I don't agree with it. So, but we're going to go ahead and get to the H-1Bs. I just had to do that part. That's my mistake. How long was that? Let's see. 17 minutes. Not so bad. Not so bad. Excuse me. Whew. Root beer's good, but that belching's crazy. It's Friday, isn't it? Yeah, it's Friday. Okay. All right, so here what we're going to do is listen to this. What we're going to do is listen to Ben Shapiro here. I've not heard this video yet, but I did hear the thing that Ben Shapiro said of, if you can't afford to live in New York, you should just move, which I also disagree with, because of the fact that it's not that there aren't any opportunities. It's not that people are just taking jobs. Because I had to move back to, I was literally about to get my state out. I had to move back to my hometown, my home state, because of the fact that there were no more job opportunities where I was previously living. But that's also because I had gone through every job over the span of about 5 years, and there weren't that many. There was only about a few of them, and I kept looking, and just there was no opportunities, no nothing. And where I was, it was still white as white. Okay, so like there wasn't a huge influx of migrations except like a couple stores. But by the time I left, it went from like one or two stores that the Indians had bought to like four or five. So I mean, all I'm saying is it's an invasion, okay? And they're an invasive species, and I genuinely believe that we need to do something about this. And when Ben Shapiro says, "Hey, you can't afford to live someone, you need to leave," in the mindset that there aren't millions of illegal immigrants coming over here, sure, I agree with that. Okay, I agree with, hey, if all the people in your town are working and have all these jobs and there's just not any openings, yeah, go somewhere else and find some work. But if all the jobs are taken by illegal aliens that don't need to be here in the first fucking place, and all they're doing is replacing the white people, all they're doing is siphoning resources from the Native American population. I don't mean Native American as something teepees. No, I mean Native American as in the white slash black slash Mexican, Latino slash Indian. All those Americans that built this fucking country. We are the native people. You want to talk about the Native Americans that were here before Columbus? I call them indigenous, okay? They are the indigenous people. But the people who came here after Columbus to create the government structure that we know today as the modern United States of America, that is a white man, black man, Spanish, Asian, that is our thing. Led by white men, okay? White men spearheaded this shit. And I'm not racist. I'm not going to sit here and say that white men need to be on top. I'm not going to say that we're better than everyone else, because at the end of the day, DNA between all races is the same at its core level. But if you're going to sit here and say, hey, black people can identify with their race, Mexican people or Latino people, I fucking get those interchanged all the time because Mexican became a slur for a couple years. I don't fucking know. But if you take white people, you take Latino people, you take Asian people, Middle Eastern people, okay? And then you go into the subdivisions where you have white people, then you have Anglo, Mediterranean, Slavic, like there's a whole fucking, all of those people. If you're not white, you're allowed to identify with your race. But if you are white, you have to feel guilty for your race. And that is fucking bullshit, okay? I'm at a point now where I'm proud of being white. Not because I think I'm better than anybody else, but because of the fact that white people have entirely and nearly single-handedly created the modern Western world. And then you have people who come in here and they say, yeah, we need to have an entire influx of all these people who come in here and they want to do X, Y, Z and all this stuff. And then you end up with a population that's destroyed, destitute, been replaced, and the only reason that they're still here is because if there was a mass genocide of white people, then they would never get away with it. They would never get away with it. Instead, this is the sly, like, under the table type fucking genocide, under the table type replacement. Okay, because a while back, I never thought of the Great Replacement Theory as an actual thing, but now I genuinely believe it's a thing with how much we're importing illegal aliens to the Western world, how awful the white people in these European countries have been treated. You see, that's why I love Japan, and every single day I want a Japanese wife more. Because Japan got to 3% of their population as illegals, and they said, we're done, we can't do this. If you ask me, 3% is too much. But even then, they're like, yeah, we can't do this. We can't do this. And I'm like, fuck yeah, bro. America and Japan, once great enemies, now the greatest of allies nearly 100 years later. That's some good shit right there, bro. Because Japan is truly our greatest ally. Let me tell you like this. Donald Trump wanted to import 600,000 Chinese H-1B visas. If you replace Chinese with Japanese, I'm for it. Okay? You want to import nearly 1 million Japanese people? Fuck yeah, bro. I don't understand why we got to do it with the Chinamen. I don't understand why we got to do it with the fucking communist government of China. But Trump does what he does. And he knows what MAGA wants better than anybody, even though at his first term, he said that the H-1B visas were exploited. But that's all right. I'm going to go ahead and play this in its entirety, and then I'll react to it afterwards. But I want what he says to be out unedited in this 2-minute clip, at least. Because obviously he does like 50-minute shows, so there's context past this. But I trust Steven Crowder wouldn't take him out of context, and Steven Crowder cares a lot about context. So I trust Steven. So let's go ahead and play it and see what's up.
There are, in fact, certain positions in the United States that require a level of expertise that may not be reachable in the numbers that are currently being churned out by American universities. That is a shortcoming of our educational system, and it is a problem. And so you can say we should up our game. I agree. We should absolutely up our game educationally. But in the meantime, if you do not bring in the labor supply, particularly to tech, tech will go find the labor supply. And so what you will end up with is an office that was employing 30 Americans and 3 H-1B visa people. If the costs grow too high, simply moving to another country where they hire 30 Indians and 0 Americans. Right? This is the problem with the reason companies offshore is not because it's easy or fun to simply move your company somewhere else. It's because the labor cost becomes so prohibitive in the United States that companies move away. And you can try to tariff them back, but all that does is artificially raise the price on Americans. Again, we're talking about affordability. There are trade-offs in economics. Autarky comes with the fun feeling that everybody in America is making American product. It comes with the very large downside that your products are economically inefficient, they don't work as well, and you're not globally competitive. Right? All policies have trade-offs. It is also better for the American people, broadly speaking, to bring in the best from other countries. Now, how do you determine the best? You can make, again, the case that the H-1B visa program is fatally flawed. It's not bringing in enough of the best. I will point out that many of our best founders in the United States are either immigrants or the children of immigrants who came in on H-1B visas or who came in just generally without an H-1B visa through other forms of legal immigration as students. And the reality is that maybe our screening procedures should be different, but we need to see specifics on what the screening procedures you're applying are that would allow for there to be, for example, an Elon Musk American citizen creating tens of thousands of jobs. Or the head of Google, Sundar Pichai, creating tens of thousands of jobs. Or the head of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, creating tens of thousands of jobs. Now you can say that maybe if those people didn't exist, there would be an American who just did that job. But that is now living in the realm of theory.
You fucking idiot. I'm sorry. Saying that Americans are unable to do the job. Okay, all right. I'm sorry. That was an emotional reaction. Let's take this genuinely. All right. Go back to the beginning. So, there's a lot to unpack there. A lot to unpack. I'll go through and pause it and commentate on it.
There are, in fact, certain positions in the United States that require a level of expertise that may not be reachable in the numbers that are currently being churned out by American universities.
Okay, so I have a question. Mr. Shapiro, actually I have 2 questions about this. One, do you believe that America is the greatest country in the world? And 2, do you believe that every single university, without fail, has been infected by the left virus and there is 0 redeeming qualities to any university ever? And I'm not saying that's what he's saying, but I'm asking, if we can get clarification on those 2 things, then it goes to further questions, right? If you do believe that America is the greatest country in the world, then where else are we going to get the greatest engineers, the greatest minds, the greatest intelligence? Where else are we going to get that shit if you believe that America is the greatest country in the world? Fucking nowhere, that's where. Okay, you're importing people for cheaper costs, but let's go ahead and go past that. If you believe... Fuck, I forget the second thing I said. I am so mad that I lose my train of thought like that. It was, do you believe America is the greatest country in the world? And do you believe that... Fuck. Okay, one sec. Sorry, one sec. There are, in fact, certain positions in the United States that require a level of expertise that may not be... The universities, that's what it was. The university, shit. I'm so sorry. I hate that whenever my mind kind of fumbles like that. But the universities. Because that's one thing that I've realized in life, is that speaking in totalities only really works if it's verifiable. And it is very hard to verify a lot of things in life. And in my personal perspective, excuse me, fucking good ass root beer. But no, from my personal perspective, if somebody is going to say that every single university in America is a flawed system that is an indoctrination center, then that's entirely disingenuous in my opinion. Because there are plenty of great universities that will churn out great minds and super astronomically intelligent people that are American, because America is the greatest country in the world. We have the greatest processes, we have the greatest techniques, okay? We have the greatest morals, we have the greatest laws. Not always laws, but I mean, for the most part, we have the greatest laws. All right? And I think for Mr. Shapiro here to say that, hey, fuck all those 18-year-olds who want to go out there and be engineers. Fuck all those 18-year-olds who want to go build missiles for the military and do some great shit. You know, fuck them. Just bring in some fucking 30-year-old dirty Indian to do it. And that's the real problem. That's the fucking problem with H-1B, okay? H-1B, it's an inherently flawed system. And I don't know the specifics about it. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm super duper intelligent on it. But at the end of the day, I know that the effect of what is happening is that Americans are being replaced in the workforce, in society, their culture is being eradicated, and if you say anything about it, you're a filthy fucking racist, okay? But you see, non-white right people have the privilege of being able to sit there and say this shit and not get attacked because they're black, because they're the skin color that the left sits there and says, hey, we need to protect them. So when they come up and say, hey, get the fucking illegals out, you got the people on the left are like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? But then you get the people on the fucking right who are white. The people on the right who are white, they come out and they say the same thing. White devil, racist, etc., etc. You know, shit we've been hearing for the past 50 years. But no, that right there, just the first 10 seconds of the video alone pisses me off. Because that right there inherently is an anti-American stance, okay? And if you're going to sit here and say, oh, what? I'm pro-American. I want America to exist so they can give millions of dollars to Israel. All I'm saying is that Ben Shapiro saying this is inherently anti-American. And if it's inherently anti-American, why are we doing it? It's the same issue I have with Trump. That is not America first, okay? Because I understand the counterpoints, okay? When people sit there and say, if you don't have the proper amount of work, the wages will go up and the costs will go up. But that's fucking life, okay? Let me tell it to you this way. I would rather, okay? I would rather pay 17 times the amount of whatever it is that I need if I know that it's good. I would rather pay $11 for a single burger if I knew that was the best meat on the fucking planet. And that's what America used to be, what it should be. But then we have people like Ben, people like Trump, people like Tucker, and amongst many others who sit here and say that we need to import these H-1Bs because something Americans aren't smart enough. When Americans literally helped create the entire Western world that we know of today. On that day where the entire group of founding fathers signed that Declaration of Independence and said, hey, Britain, we're our own thing now. Okay? When they did that, that kicked off the greatest ideological expansion in the entirety of humanity. And what is the ideology? The American Christian ideology. Or Christian American. I feel like that's more appropriate. We got to put God first, right? The Christian American ideology. And I know Ben would hate this because he's a Jew. He doesn't believe in the deity of Christ. But you're wrong, Ben. When it comes to Christian Americanism, it's very simple. Genuine freedom when it comes to what you say, what you do, and not even in a sense of like you can say whatever you want. No, just in a sense of like you're allowed to criticize. You're allowed to say what you need to, but there come responsibilities with that. You're allowed to protect yourself. You're allowed to defend yourself with any means necessary, any kind of violence necessary, but there come responsibilities with that. If you drive away the attacker and they run away and they are halfway down the street, you cannot chase them with a rifle. But if they are still in your house, execute that motherfucker. That's what I believe. If somebody invades your home, you have every single right to snuff his life out. If he's trying to hurt you. Like, let me tell you like this. It's the middle of the night. A guy in a black hoodie, black sweatpants, and a balaclava runs into your fucking house, breaks down the door. Okay. You could say he's just there to take the watch that he saw you wear the other day. Or he's there to rape your wife, slaughter you, kill your fucking son, take your wife and daughter into sexual slavery, and you will never have anything to do with it. Why would I risk the second thing? Why would I risk the safety and security of the women in my life all because I want to be virtuous because some motherfucker busts into this house? Somebody busts into my house, you got 19 guns around my vicinity and my fucking friends and my family, okay? You break into my fucking house, you're gonna have 2 steps before you have 13 barrels shoved at your fucking face. Not being exaggerating, but that's what it's gonna be. You step into my house, you will be put down. That's a core tenet of what I believe. If you are going to initiate violence against somebody who is innocent and has done nothing wrong, and the only thing that happens is that you don't like them, you don't like what they say, you don't like their ideology, so fucking what? Deal with it. I fucking despise communism, but at the end of the day, communism and the people who say, oh, I just like communism, bro. I don't think I would ever want to actually take over the government. I like the ideas of communism. That right there, I almost started yelling. That right there is 100% freedom of speech. Simply saying, hey, I think communism's cool. Now, I don't think we should sit there and take the fucking means of production. If somebody says that, I'm going to say, I think that you're wrong and somewhat supporting evil in communism, and yet you have the right to say that shit. Now, when you sit there and you try to convince people and you try to propagandize them, you try to get them to overthrow the current reigning government to instill a communist utopia, even if it's done through votes, I don't care. Even if they vote for communism, democratic socialism, just because you vote for it doesn't make it any better. Oh, you vote your rights away, so all of a sudden it's okay. You vote to allow millions of illegal immigrants in so they can sit there and take your wives into sexual slavery and send them halfway across the fucking world so that they'll never know actual peace ever fucking again. You ever think about that? There's the most amount of slaves in history right now on the planet. And they are people who have been stolen from their home. And they will never see their home again. And that is what you want when you bring in illegal immigrants, when you allow the H-1B scam, when you allow the inherently flawed system of H-1Bs to be used in such a way, you are supporting the importation of third world policies that involve, but not limited to, raping women and blaming the women for being raped, destroying everything that Western civilization has ever known, and the most important, in my personal opinion, I know Ben wouldn't agree with this one, being anti-Jesus. And by the way, I'm not saying that he doesn't believe Jesus doesn't exist. It's just Jews deny the deity of Jesus, which inherently in and of itself is blasphemous, but that's besides the fucking point. I'm sorry, that got me a little frustrated, all right? You know, I don't hate Ben. I've not been the biggest Ben fan. I've not been his biggest fan, you know? Daily Wire really soured me after Steven Crowder exposed them for that fucking contract that they have. And then when Brett Cooper left the Daily Wire, they just shoved another blonde bitch into their fucking place. Like, yeah, that's gonna replace the personality that people came to do. No, you just keep the fucking brand. Because you want to make money. Because you don't give a fuck about politics. The Daily Wire, they want to make money. And I get it. It's a fucking a business. You make money for a business. But at the end of the day, you can make money and not siphon your creators for everything that they have. And then when they're like, hey, I want to go do something else. Thank you for building my platform. But what I want to do is I want to take this over here now and do something over here with this. And then we can, like, you know, come back and call back and, you know, be like, oh, remember when I was there at the Daily Wire? That was awesome. No, that's not what they want. What they want is to keep your brand, to keep everything that you have. And then they want to siphon everything that you can give them. And then when you want to leave, okay, bye. We're going to keep everything that you've created, but bye-bye. inherently flawed, inherently toxic, and that is the reason why we can't get anything done in business, is because they focus on money. Even the people on our side are still inherently flawed in certain areas. I'm flawed deeply myself. Never gonna sit here and pretend like I'm perfect. And I know that they don't pretend like they're perfect either, but they also believe what they're doing, and I am convinced for a fact that what they're doing is toxic and it supports evil. Because when you sit there and say that, oh, we need something that's financially viable for YouTube, okay, well then every single thing that YouTube says you cannot talk about or else you're going to get demonetized, we can't talk about. When they said, hey, you can't talk about the fucking vaccine, we can't talk about the vaccine, so you don't get to sit there and talk about the ideology. It's not about money. It's about the ideology. It's about grabbing the hearts of the youth, bringing them towards Jesus, showing them that he is the true one light in this world. The only thing that can solve our problems is Jesus Christ. But no. The Daily Wire wants to make money. The Daily Wire wants to keep the brand, you know? And I'm not even saying that they don't have a right to do that. They do. But just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do something. Just because it's a possibility doesn't mean that it's a good thing. I know they know exactly what I mean. A little rant right there. I got passionate about it. I haven't had time to talk about the Daily Wire stuff, because that genuinely, that's some shady shit to me, you know? And the only issue that I have is the idea that whenever you go to do these certain kinds of agreements, these certain kind of contracts, it's supposed to be in good faith. And and it's really hard to determine good faith, but there is a way. And all you got to do is do one simple thing. Take what they're saying and what they're doing, see if they match up. If they don't match up, that's not good faith. So when they sit there and they say, we want to support conservatism and right wing, you know, policy, but then they do something that plays ball with the left wing, do something that inherently censors them. And I know that within the contract, I know that the Daily Wire does not do censorship for the most part. They don't sit there and say, like, you can't talk about everything on, you know, and, you know, they'll have like the behind the paywall. You can talk, but that's not the point. Not everybody can pay. Not everybody wants to pay. Okay? And I'm not saying, you know, I'm not saying get rid of the paywall. No. I like how Steven Crowder and the Daily Wire do it. They give you a chunk of content free. Then if you want more, you pay for it. That's perfectly fine. But the free content needs to be raw, unfiltered, unedited as much as possible, so that you can actually get the idea of what it is that somebody wants to say. I guess that's why I started streaming. I have like 5 videos I recorded about politics that I can't bring myself to edit. I can edit it, you know, like I'm not illiterate when it comes to editing software. It's just, I prefer the rawness. I prefer the unfiltered, like, you know, the mistakes. When I stutter over myself, when I take the pauses, you know, that kind of shit. But that makes me an extremist. You know, that's something right there that if I say I want to do and everything, all of a sudden, okay, we need to continue the video. I'm fucking around way too much. I'm going to turn up my volume a little bit. Oh no, okay, the music's just that quiet. Okay. You guys probably can't even hear it. I got the volume down. Bump it up to 3. I mean, but at the end of the day, I just want, you know, some nice little background music. It is what it is. Who messaged me? Oh, hey. Oh. It's a person I haven't messaged in 2 years. And the message they sent me was an invite to their server. Don't you hate that shit? It's like, I haven't seen you in years. I love talking to you. Hey, how you doing? Oh, it's just a server invite. Huh. I'll check it out later. I'm working right now. I'll check it out later. So let's continue with what it is that Ben Shapiro was saying.
That is a shortcoming of our educational system, and it is a problem. And so you can say we should up our game. I agree. We should absolutely up our game educationally. But in the meantime, if you do not bring in the labor supply, particularly to tech will go find the labor supply.
Okay. So basically what he's saying is that if you don't bow down to the demands that tech have, and by the way, labor supply is a demand. Demand doesn't always have to be, give me $10 million or I'm gonna kill your kids. No, that's not always a demand. A demand is, this has to happen or else I'm gonna go do something else. An ultimatum, if you will. A demand is an ultimatum, if you will. Okay? A request is, hey, I can live without this. So if the tech companies, if we say the supply request, right? I know that doesn't make sense, but just work with me here. If the term was supply request, if the term was, hey, we have a request for this amount of workers, or whatever it is you would like to say, we have a request for this amount, right? Then you go ahead and, sorry, I'm trying to formulate my thoughts here. Okay, so a demand, I'm backtracking a little bit. I'm scrambling my brains here. My mind works way faster than I can speak. So a demand is an ultimatum. It's, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to go do something else, or I'm going to walk, or I'm not going to work with you, right? For example, if I work with any of these people, my demand, it must be unfiltered, it must be raw, there is no editing, there will be no, gotcha points. We're here to talk. We're here to do shit, We're not here to fucking sit here and get score on our own, the people who are supposed to be on our own side, But I think the part that bothers me the most about this is the fact that he's sitting there saying, the way he says it, if you do not bring in H-1Bs, they'll find it elsewhere. So he does have somewhat of a point in which if you have H-1Bs and you have the labor force, right? Okay, well, I have an alternative thing that is entirely America first that will please a lot of people. Hear me out. What you do, instead of kowtowing to globalism, saying like, hey, you need to sit here and import, etc., however many people, instead of saying you need to import them, make it financially sustainable for them to train Americans to do this shit. What? You're telling me that the entire history of America, non-Americans have been building our shit? Non-Americans have created the Western world? Non-Americans have created the United States of America? In a way, if you want to be literally and semantically technical about it, yes, they did, because everybody who came over to the USA before it was the USA were fucking British. But even then, they're British. And when people say that America's a nation of immigrants, it's like, yeah, America is a nation of immigrants, but we're also a nation of immigrants that cherishes the culture that America has. The immigrants that are coming in nowadays that are illegal, they don't give a fuck about American culture. They don't care about America. The only thing that they want, the only thing that they know about America is that they can sit there, there's a treasure trove of white women for them to fuck, there's a treasure trove of jobs for them to take and send the money back home, and there's a treasure trove of people who don't give a fuck that, they're coming in, infiltrating America, and doing these horrible things. And that trifecta right there is going to be the reason why America falls if we do not do something about it. So what do you do? I will tell you, Mr. Shapiro. I wish I could have a conversation with you, but I'm a bum. No, I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody, man. It's insane. But let me tell you this, right? What you do, first things first, shut down 95 to 99% of immigration. I'm fucking sick of immigrants, okay? Cut the border, cut it off for a long time. Even legal immigration, even that, cut it off for a long time. We need to fix our shit before we bring more people in, okay? Secondly, what do? The same thing you do whenever people send their factories to China, all right? Now, he said it in the video, if you just tariff them, it's going to raise prices for Americans. Okay, well, don't just tariff them then. What do? You do this. You tariff them if they go to separate countries for cheap slave labor. Okay, cheap slave labor. You tariff them and they go there. And if they stay in America and they're very pro-America first, you give them tax incentives and tax breaks and financial incentives, Then you might say, oh, what about the training issue? Perfect. You give them an additional tax break to where that break could be called the training break or some shit, where the fund, like the businesses, they'll get a bill. Like they will compile together a bill for how much money and how much resources it took to train people to, like Trump said, build missiles. We'll use that example. Like those companies, however much that it took, the resources, the money, the time, compile that, put it in a bill, send it off to some kind of now, I'm not a huge fan of just relying on government agencies, but for lack of a better system where we could do this, I'll just say send it off to, like, you know, a different agency or something. Maybe send it to Doge. Fuck it, send it to Doge. But no, you do that, and then you will be reimbursed, or you will get a break on the tax that is equivalent to whatever it is that you spent on the person being trained. Why are we sitting here importing people who throw shit at each other? Why are we importing people who worship cows? Why are we importing people who blame women for being raped? I need to repeat that. Why are we importing people who blame women for being raped? Because we want to be seen as good, great, oh, the white savior. We've been so privileged our entire existence as whiteys. We need to sacrifice our women and sacrifice our jobs and sacrifice our culture and sacrifice our livelihoods. We deserve to be on the ground, hands and knees, boot kissing every single dirty immigrant that comes through here, man. And yes, I'm being fucking facetious when I call them dirty, but at the end of the day, I'm not joking when I say they throw shit at each other. So yes, until you stop having a shit-throwing festival, you are dirty. Until you stop blaming women for being raped, you are fucking atrocious. The worst of the worst. Fuck. It gets me so mad. It gets me so mad, because how can you blame somebody for that? Right? Oh, she had her skin shown, so therefore she was tempting a man. Well, you know what, something? I agree with modest clothing, but at the end of the day, rape is rape. It is your actions that raped that woman. So, in zero moral societies, you can... That is how many societies you can justify blaming a woman for being raped. Zero moral societies. The only place that they do justify it are the places where they would throw you off the rooftops for being gay. And I don't agree with that either. Oh, but I'm homophobic because I don't want my kids getting their cocks cut off. And yet you support an ideology that actively murders homosexuals and trans people. But that's besides the point. Let's get back to the H-1Bs. What else you got to say, Ben?
And so what you will end up with is an office that was employing 30 Americans and 3 H-1B visa people. If the costs grow too high, simply moving to another country where they hire 30 Indians and 0 Americans.
Like, I understand what he's saying, but like I said, you know, if they move, you tariff them. I mean, because look,
Right, this is the problem with the reason companies offshore is not because it's easy or fun to simply move your company somewhere else.
It's not easy or fun to move your company, but it is certainly easier and far more profitable to move your company to a country that employs slave labor. No one on the fucking planet can compete with slave labor. Forced 13, 14-hour shifts, if you're lucky. Forced multi-hour shifts. From childhood in China. From fucking childhood. These kids get chained to a fucking thing. They gotta sew clothes, sew shoes, do all this shit. Because the Chinese don't give a fuck about human rights. They don't give a fuck about their own people. And yet, Mr. Shapiro here and Mr. Trump, El President, they want to sit here and import 600,000 young people. If the Chinese are willing to turn a blind eye to these companies and these fucking factories who employ child slave labor, who is to say that they're not going to send 600,000 fucking spies? And it is within the Chinese law itself that every single Chinese citizen across the world, regardless of what happens, has to be a spy. They have to release any information they have on these countries that they go to the Chinese government upon the drop of a fucking dime. They get the request, they have to send it back, or else they are marked for death against the Chinese fucking government. Because it is a totalitarian communist shithole. And just because there's a billion people, and just because they have great huge cities, and just because they have the greatest production market in the world because of the child slave labor, it doesn't mean that they're better. It doesn't mean that they're good. What it means is that they're abusing human rights, and then when you promote something that's like, hey, just send it over somewhere else, or import people who would be the same people who would fuck the products up anyway. Because look, I wouldn't have a problem with this if it was genuinely what the H-1B was supposed to be for, which was, you know, importing people. Like Albert Einstein would be an H-1B visa, but these people being imported in are the exact opposite of Albert Einstein. As a matter of fact, the devastation of what they're doing is greater than the nuclear bomb. I fucking said it. The devastation of unchecked illegal immigration into these Western countries where they come in, they destroy, they rape, they siphon, and all they do is want to change the country that they're in now into the country that they left. That is more devastating than the nuclear bomb, because fucking Hiroshima and Nagasaki are still Japanese cities. They didn't get completely ruined by a fucking toxic and violent and evil ideology. No. We nuked Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and they're still Japanese cities. They thrive to this day. That's why I say unchecked illegal immigration. And not even illegal immigration. Unchecked H-1B immigration. Unchecked people coming into this country who do not 100% subscribe to American standards. And yes, this is a totalitarian area right here. I don't normally speak in totalities, but this is one where I'm willing to die on this hill. You are either 100% American when you come from whatever shithole you came from, and you come over here to the Silver City on a fucking hill, right? You are American, or you're gone. And gone is your choice. Do you want to be gone as in exiled back to the place you came from? Or do you want to be gone as in shot to death because you tried to sit there and grope and molest and rape a woman in broad fucking daylight? Fuck. And it just gets worse. It just gets worse because these people on our right, they're supposed to be our allies. Ben Shapiro, you're supposed to be with us. And yet you're sitting here advocating. Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, President Trump. All of you want to sit here and advocate for something that is going to cause a greater influx of American destruction. This is not America first. This is not beneficial for the American people. But I'm sorry. Trump knows what MAGA wants better than what MAGA wants. Even though MAGA is make America great again, not make India great again when they send their money back after fucking immigrating over here, not make Afghanistan great again, not make Albania great again, Armenia, Azerbaijan, not to make them great again, to make America great again. And exactly, specifically, please, President Trump, tell me, how does these H-1B visas make America great again? Please give me details and descriptions, because if you cannot provide that, then I have no reason to not believe that you are not being controlled by somebody. I'm not even sure if I said that all right. You know, I always get the triple negatives and stuff wrong. But at the end of the day, you know, if you can't give me detailed descriptions of how this is going to help, if you cannot give me that, you know, fucking 20-page essay on why H-1B visas are fucking, you know, beneficial and the greatest thing for the American economy at this current moment in time, where we have an illegal immigration influxation, entire billion citizen enemy that is the Chinese Communist Party, along with pretty much everybody else in the fucking world, because everybody hates what America stands for, except the patriots in Poland, in Britain, in Germany, in Hungary, Austria, go down the Balkan states up to the Baltics. The majority of the government and the ruling parties in all of these places hates what America stands for. It's only recently that they've sat in there and grown a fucking pair of balls to say, hey, the EU is atrocious, and to sit there and say, hey, we need to protect our borders at all costs as well. That's why right now I'm a Poland stan, okay? I'm a fucking Poland stan, which is funny coming from the guy who's speaking German. You know, but the fucking Poland, I love that, specifically because of the fact that they are entirely nationalistic. They believe in Polish borders, and they're saying they literally put Poland first. I think it was the Polish PM or something. I don't remember. It was a representative of Poland. They were at the EU meeting, and he was basically saying, hey, the only reason we're doing the best and we're the fastest growing economy in the EU, which is a truth, by the way, fastest growing economy is Poland because of the fact that they don't take in the illegal immigrants. They don't take in all these different people. So even the Polish representative said, keep your engineers, keep your doctors, keep the people, you know, keep the people who you want to send to us because we don't need them, you know? And that's how America should be. Because all respect to Poland, America is still the best country in the world, given all of our flaws. And Poland is badass. But America is America, all right? We are the greatest country in the world. Poland is badass. We need to do what Poland's doing. But you see, the difference is that the Polish people have been persecuted and occupied for hundreds of fucking years before they got their freedom in World War I, and then before they were established as they are today in World War II. You know, before that, they were occupied, raped, destroyed, murdered. So many Polish fucking, like, landmarks were destroyed by invasive nations. So they're at a point now where they're like, fuck it, we are not getting invaded again. And that is exactly what's happening, okay? Because you have to understand, colonialism died in World War II. But imperialism, soft war, that shit's alive and well. The idea of influencing other countries to be like your country and to take ideologies from your ideology, your mindset, your moral values, to impose that on other people, and then when you go there, to be seen as a victim, and then use your victim status to destroy, not create, to absolutely subjugate the native population. And I don't give a fuck. White people are the native populations of America, Britain, Germany, France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Netherlands, the Danes, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Hungary, Austria. You know, and even if it's not like pure white, it doesn't fucking matter. European people that came over here fucking 250 years ago to colonize these lands, they decided, fuck what the king was doing. I'm a monarchist. But even then, I'm glad that they said fuck what the king was doing. Because of the fact that it gives us America today. And I would rather have America today than any kind of monarchy that was shitty. Even though I am pro-monarchy. Because what we have today is the greatest system to ever exist, even though it is still flawed. Even though it still has a huge amount of exploits, degenerative laws, and overall just horrible practices in certain specific areas, like the H-1B that we're going through right now. As my pops tell me he was leaving for work. Alrighty. I tell you, man, root beer's my favorite drink. But it just... You see, and that's my only issue, man. I love Trump. I think he is the best president. That doesn't mean that he has a 100% success rate. But nobody ever does. But I just feel like... I believe, and I think wholeheartedly in my mind that this H-1B policy where Trump was to bring in hundreds of thousands of foreigners, that is only going to increase the Look, let me tell you like this, right? It's not about illegals. It is about illegals, okay? It is. But that's not what it is. It's foreigners, okay? Anybody who's not American and they have zero intention to subscribe to American ideals, they have zero intention to participate within the American product, the American project, the American culture. They have zero intention to do any of that. Why the fuck are we importing them? If they do not... Look, let me tell you like this, right? If you want to be an American, anybody who might be outside of America listening to this right now in this moment in time, if you somehow know English... no, I'm kidding. There's plenty of English out there. But anyway, if you want to move to America and you are non-American, you need to act like an American before you get here, okay? That's all I'm saying. You need to be so fucking American that you feel pride in America while you're in England, while you're in Austria, while you're in fucking Bosnia. If you want to be an American, I don't care where you are. You must be an American before you get here. Then we can integrate you. But just throw it out. Catch all scattershot. fucking catch-all scattershot, like H-1Bs towards the Chinese, you know? And sure, yeah. In the interview that Trump had with Laura, what was it? Laura Ingraham, I think? I like how she pushed back on him, though. Saying like, oh, yeah, they're the Chinese, not the French. And then Trump says, oh, with the French any better? Yeah! If you're gonna ask me, I would much prefer 600,000 Frenchmen, as much as I fucking despise the French. I would rather 600,000 Frenchmen today than any more communist fucking immigrants from anywhere. That includes China, Vietnam, North Korea, maybe North Korea, okay? Maybe we can have some refugees. You know, but no, just go to fucking South Korea, bro. If you can leave, go to South Korea and enjoy your life there. Or if you want to be an American, go to South Korea and then apply for a fucking legal citizenship and then be an American before you get here. You see, and that's the problem that bothers me, is to everybody, being an American is different. To us, who think like I do, being an American is being America first and doing things that do not benefit the rest of the world first. Because let me tell you like this, right? We need to be the progenitors and the forerunners in everything that we do. In the entire fucking world in general. Just in the entire world, we are number one. We need to be number one. And we need, or not need, but if we ever get to a point where people need our help, give them our hand-me-downs. Don't give them prime fucking technology. No, give them the out-of-date shit. Because they're not going to be at a certain point where they can fight us if we just give them the prime technology. That's why the people in Afghanistan are rolling around in Black Hawks and M1 Abrams. I'm not sure if it's Abrams, but you know what I'm saying. The Afghanistan withdrawal was so horrible that so much fucking American equipment over there got fucking left over there. And I still don't know if the hostages got released. I don't know if they're still over there fucking being tortured or if they got released. I'm not sure. That's something we got to look up. But at the end of the day, that's what I'm talking about. If you sit there and do some horrible shit like that, then it's just like, what the fuck? It's like, what are we doing, Mr. Shapiro? Are we importing 10,000 of your fucking countrymen? Are you supporting this because you want more Jews here? I'm not anti-Jew, but I am anti-invasion, okay? And by the way, that means if a bunch of fucking Russian communists who are all pale as fucking snow decided to try to invade America, I'd be anti-them too, okay? I'd be anti-them. It's not just the brown people. It's not just the black people who come from fucking Africa or the Middle East. You could have, tomorrow, you could have a platoon of Japanese extremists roll up on California beach just to try to take this shit over. And I would advocate for the extermination of each and every single fucking one of them. Even though I love Japan and I love the Japanese people, if you come onto American soil uninvited and destroy everything we've tried to build, you will be exiled or exterminated. There is no in between. I don't give a fuck. Let's keep listening to Ben here.
It's because the labor cost becomes so prohibitive in the United States that companies move away. And you can try to tariff them back, but all that does is artificially raise the price on Americans. Again, we're talking about affordability. There are trade-offs in economics.
There are trade-offs in economics. Like if you import 600,000 H-1B visas, you have so many things you have to think about. Do they have money? Are they going to be on government assistance? I assume not, because this is right-wing stuff. So you're telling me that these people that we're bringing in, why? That's what all of this breaks down to, is why? Why are we doing this? And you sit there and say something economics. It's not all about money. All right? You know how many great fucking businesses, great fucking places work at a deficit for a certain amount of time to be able to build themselves up, and then they just get skyrocketing in the green? I don't know what the opposite of a deficit is. A surplus? Surplus. And they skyrocket in a fucking financial surplus. Okay? But no. This is short-term thinking right here. Short-term thinking right here. They're only thinking about a year ahead. They're only thinking about 2 years ahead. You know? There is no 5-10 year plan with these H-1B visas. It's literally just, hey, get everybody here as soon as possible. Take all the jobs, okay? Because let me ask you this, right? If people are going to come in and take these jobs, And you're saying that Americans aren't trained enough to do it, right? My question, okay, what are Americans supposed to do? What are we just supposed to flip burgers for the rest of our fucking lives? Are we supposed to sit there and be the, by the way, the jobs that Indians are taking, the jobs that the fucking immigrants are taking? They're taking our fucking burger flipping jobs. They're taking our customer service jobs. And then whenever we go up there and we try to buy a fucking 12-pack of fucking Dr. Peppers, you hear, because they're not speaking English at Shell in fucking Kentucky. But I'm the racist. I'm the problem because I don't want Americans to be out of jobs, homeless. And you know what? I don't fucking care if they don't know how to do it. Train them. That's my immediate reaction. Train them. And then you'll hit a response with, oh, the training costs. Fuck it. Give them a tax break for it. Like I said earlier, give them a tax break for training them. But you won't do it. You won't fucking do it because you're only thinking short term, right? And as a matter of fact, that tax break I'm talking about works decades from now. All right? 20 years from now, when the next generation of people coming up and they need to be trained, okay, tax break for training them. Boom, there you go. And the more Americans you hire, the higher your tax break for fucking training them. All right? If you want to make it all about money and you want to make it about keeping businesses in America, don't just go to the cheap and easy solution, which is the reason we're in this problem in the first place, because you want to think short term and you want to import people who would rather destroy America and siphon our resources than actually training up the people of this actual fucking nation who are born here, who are raised here, who know America inside and out like the back of their fucking hand. But no, you're gonna import somebody who doesn't even know what the fuck a corn festival is. Are you fucking serious? You're serious. You're gonna import somebody who throws shit at each other. You're gonna import somebody who would rather see the destruction of America. The decimation of America. You would rather see that than America succeed. And I know these are heavy words I'm saying right now. These are very strong accusations. But if you're gonna sit here and tell me that you back and you defend what it is that you're saying right here, Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson, Mr. President, then you are supporting an inherently un-American policy. And then people can sit there and say, oh no, it's not un-American. No, it is un-American, okay? Because you're not prioritizing American citizens. Because, like, dude, what? Are you trying to tell me that you want the left's policies of being able to sit around on our ass and do nothing and have everything be paid for us, but the only difference is we'll have immigrants working? Is that what you want? I assume not. But that is exactly the mindset that I'm hearing from you when you say this. You're saying that you want illegals to come in and do all of the chump changes. Like, look, let me tell you. On the left, they're saying, who's going to cut our grass? Who's going to pull our crops? On the right, they're saying, who's going to make our missiles? Who's going to make our guns? Who's going to make the big tech businesses? What the fuck do white Americans get to do? What do white Americans get to do? Nothing. You kill over and die. That's what it is. You do nothing. But you see, Ben wouldn't get it because he's a Jewish American, so it doesn't affect him, even though he's fucking light-skinned, you know? He's Jewish American. He's got his backers. Okay, I'm not gonna... Alright, that was just me being fucking facetious. I don't know about the Israel funding people, and I know there's some shady shit going on in the back, but I don't want to make an accusation like that. But at the same time, Ben's a Jew, Israel's a Jew, and this shit is just gonna be not benefiting Americans. And I don't have anything against Jews. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm just calling shit out, you know? Stereotypes exist for a reason. Something I saw in Asmongold's thing. This is a real quick side tangent. But something I saw in Asmongold's videos was the fact that the Muslims and the Christians fought over Jerusalem for eons. And who has it now? Who has it now? Exactly. Let's go and keep listening to Ben here.
Autarky comes with the fun feeling that everybody in America is making American product. It comes with the very large downside that your products are economically inefficient, they don't work as well, and you're not globally competitive.
Okay, so inefficient, they don't work as well, and you're not globally competitive. Okay, why do people want American shit. Why do people get so, like, now this is anecdotal, but there are many situations that I've witnessed personally where people get like visibly mad at made in China stickers or made in China imprints. I'm one of those people. If I see anything that says made in China, automatically I lose all want to have it. Even if it's something I really wanted. Made in China, fucking, that sucks. But let me tell you something. Even if it is made in America, that's no longer good enough. Made in America is no longer good enough. It has to be made by Americans, okay? If it's made in America, it's made by Americans. I am no longer accepting this premise that Americans are retarded just because there is a large group of stupid, mentally ill fucking Americans that support communism and support the left. Did you just forget about the majority of people who voted you in, Air President? Did you forget about that shit? No. Like, look, if Trump was sitting there talking about the leftists and the communists and that they're lazy and they don't want to work and they're not trained, yes, I understand. But he said Americans in general. This is why it's important to be specific. This is why I always trip over myself when I talk, actually, is because I want to be as specific as possible so that people can understand exactly what it is that I am saying. Too many people nowadays are so, they want the biggest fucking, hey, easy answer, quick answer, just say something real quick, headline. Nobody gives a fuck about the core of what it is to me, not even just American. Nobody gives a fuck about the core of what it means to be a human. Nobody gives a fuck about that anymore because the only thing that they give a fuck about is selfish desires. And of course, Jesus, which is always, that matters. Always want to focus on Jesus. Of course, we need to focus on Jesus because Jesus is the only way to heaven, the truth, and the light. Okay? Simultaneously, what it means to be human. These interpersonal relationships where you deep dive into their psyche, into their mind, and you know what it is that your friend loves, what they believe, where they stand, and whether or not they take a bullet for you. Your mother, your father, your sister, your brother. All of them, you deep dive. Granted, if, I understand if there's abuse, like, that's different. I understand that. But even then, Jesus calls us to love our enemies. And if somebody's abusing you, the answer isn't just fight back. When it comes to a situation in which you're no longer in danger, that's what it means. If there's actively swinging on you, yeah, fucking fight back. But if you're no longer in danger and they just exist, you are doing yourself a disservice to not forgive them. And that is what it means to be human. Not how much money can you make. Not can we sit there and get 500, 600,000 H-1Bs or no H-1Bs. No, that's not what it means. And everybody who sits here and they want to import cheap labor, import these people that throw shit at each other. And I keep saying that because they throw shit at each other. Human feces. They grab and launch at each other. And those are the people who are going to be the best and brightest. Those are the people who are going to be the smartest of our generation. Those are the people who are going to create our missiles, create our tech job, create our burgers, essentially, grow our crops, pool our crops, do customer service, pump gas, okay? So what job is left for Americans? What fucking job is left for Americans, Ben? Donald, Tucker, and everybody else who supports this shit? What fucking jobs are left for Americans? Okay? All right? Because I tell you right now, the hardest fucking thing of anybody to do is to go out there and apply for a job. And I don't mean it's difficult as in like you have to go through a million hoops. Nowadays you might have. But no, it's difficult because you put yourself in a vulnerable position. You go out there and say, hey, I'm laying myself bare out for you professionally, and I would like to work for you. And then they sit there and just go, fucking no, we got 20 Indians coming in to do this job for you. Sorry, bye. It's a burger flipping job. I don't care. hey, I would like to come over here and pull these crops for you. I'd like to help you with your farming. Oh, don't worry about it, Sonny. I got a whole platoon of fucking Indians coming in to do this. We just got a fresh import of 30 fucking illegal Mexicans to come do this. You see, this is an attack from both sides right here, right? And I'm not both sidesing it as in like both sides have violence. No, but this is genuinely a pincer attack from operatives on the left and the right. And let me explain. The people on the left, they pull in the illegal immigrants and they say, hey, why can't we sit here and just have people do our jobs for us? Illegal immigrants, right? Just let them do the low skill jobs. Which, by the way, plenty of Americans want to do and enjoy doing, because sometimes we just want to pull crops all day. Sometimes we want to flip burgers all day because we enjoy feeding people. We enjoy doing things that help American people. These fucking immigrants who come in, the only thing that they want to do is they want to siphon. They don't give a fuck about Americans. They don't give a shit about any of that shit. The only thing that they want to do is to destroy everything that we built right here. And then the people on the right, they try to make it sound better because they say, let's do it legally. Yeah, let's outsource American positions and American work. The American manpower. Let's outsource that shit to people who throw shit at each other. But let's do it legally. Let's do it legally. And let's have them be shoved into these high-skilled jobs that they're not prepared for. And instead of training American citizens that cost $1,000 a year, you train Indian citizens that cost $300 a year. Then the extra $700 you use on propaganda to make yourself look like a good fucking business. Oh shit, man. It genuinely angers me. And the only reason that I get so passionate and so hype about this is because of the fact that this is an anti-American position and these people are claiming to work for the American people. And that kind of rug pull, that kind of like bait and switch, when it comes to human lives, when it comes to American livelihoods, when it comes to protecting your citizens, and you bait and switch like that, it genuinely fucking pisses me off. And again, I understand long term. But my question is, what happens if it does not pan out long term? How do we trust you on anything else if this does not work? And the only reason I'm saying that is because of the situation we're in. If we were in the 1950s, post-World War II, greatest economy to ever exist, most likely, if we were to be in that situation, I'd be willing to give it a shot. But we're not. We're in the middle of an Islamic invasion into the West. We are in the middle of an entire cultural change. We are in the midst of one of the greatest political wars I have ever read about, studied, or lived through, okay? And this isn't a war as in boots on the ground invading Britain. No, this is a war as in importing illegal immigrants, abusing their fucking laws, knowing that they're gonna be for you, the illegals, they're gonna be for the illegals, and then going there and changing shit. When you know that the people who live there are going to support you changing shit. They're not going to do anything about it. And those fucking illegal immigrants are seen as a protected class, and then that protected class takes your young daughters, turns them into rape slaves, drugs them up, and then when they fucking go back to school, they're pregnant. They're pregnant with a fucking illegal rape baby. And you can sit there and say, oh, this stuff never happens. Well, you're fucking lying. You're fucking being disingenuous, and you should never be a part of the public conversation ever fucking again if you don't believe that this stuff is happening. And by the way, I'm not saying that Ben believes that this shit is happening. I'm just saying I've heard before from other people who would be psycho fucking lefty commies sit there saying that, oh, these illegals aren't raping people. They aren't doing all of this stuff. You know? And that's what gets me the most, man. Innocent people are being hurt. Innocent children are being hurt. Innocent little girls are being hurt. And I don't give a fuck if you call me a simp or some odd or whatever, but there's something special to me about women being hurt. If you hurt a woman, you hurt a little girl. If you hurt anybody in general, yes, I'm furious. But when you target women, who have done nothing wrong. You know, because, I mean, adult women, yeah, they could have voted for it, sure. Doesn't mean they deserve it. I don't believe that anybody deserves that evil. But the little girls did fucking nothing wrong. They haven't even had a chance to understand what right and wrong is. So people sitting there saying that this stuff is okay. Ben, when I say this, I want you to know, I do not think you support rape. I do not think you support the destruction of American ideas. With that being said, when you support the influx of immigrants from countries that hate us, immigrants from countries that have zero love for the American people, zero love for the American culture, you are supporting importing rape gangs. You are supporting importing these kinds of things. And I don't have any qualms about that. I stand by that. Because people have to understand, man, it's not just a policy. You're not just supporting a policy, you're supporting the effect too. You're supporting the policy and what comes after it. Okay? Because it's not just, hey, ban abortions. It's okay, hey, ban abortions. Any doctors get caught doing it ever, you're going to jail. You have to you have to support the follow-up to the thing that you're supporting. Because you can't just sit there and throw a handful of quarters into a fucking pond and be like, well, that's it. No, you throw it, or a fucking wishing well or whatever. You don't just throw it in there and say, that's it. No, you throw it in there and then verbally or non-verbally express what you want to happen. And of course, I think wishing wells are kind of silly. I don't believe in many superstitions, but I am a sucker for a good, like, you know, when people say, like, don't split the pole or you'll get bad luck, I don't believe in getting bad luck like that, but, you know, I don't split a pole. When people say you break a mirror, you get 7 years bad luck, I don't believe that, but I still don't break mirrors. Same thing with spilling salt, same things with all these different things, you know? I love a good superstition, even if I don't believe it. And I just, I'm only getting so intense because I know one day I have to live with this, and I am not fortunate enough to have a wife or family yet. I'm going to be trying to pursue that as much as possible, but I also understand that, you know, it's God's timing, and I'm down to let God's timing be when God's timing is, you know? With that being said, I am only so, like, furious about what they're saying is because Trump's going to be out of office in 3 years. Ben, he has no political power. He's a commentator and people take what he says seriously, but he has no political power. Same thing with Tucker. At the end of the day, people still have to live. We still have to exist within these boundaries. Same thing with Nazi Germany. They lived under a totalitarian dictatorship and they still had to go work. They still have to live. They still have to go outside. But the only difference is when you make it dangerous to go outside, and that's exactly what you're doing when you import these H-1Bs and you import this illegal immigration, both sides. When you make it dangerous to go outside, there's consequences, okay? And I know you know this, Ben. I know you know this, Mr. President Trump. When you make it dangerous to go outside, it's grounds for a revolution, okay? It's grounds for people to sit there and explode and get violent, all right? And I don't want that. I don't want violence. I don't want a revolution. I don't want an insurrection, okay? But at the end of the day, that is what you're pushing for. Because you want to know something? What you're saying, Mr. Ben, Mr. Trump, you're saying that when we have to import these people who want to sit here and take our jobs, take everything that we've stood for, destroy our culture, and you want to import them. So yes, this is what it is. To them, it's cheaper to import Americans. And that's the crux of why I have a problem with this. It is based on money, okay? That is the entire crux of this fucking argument right now. It is based on money. So what Ben is saying is that it is more profitable for them to import 600,000 H-1B visas than it is to train people. Okay, Mr. Trump, make it more profitable to fucking work in America and use Americans. You control the laws and legislation, and you are a fucking businessman. You should understand this. Unless I'm missing something, okay? I understand. Trump has these fucking, like, traps. He'll set something. He'll say something bombastic. And then 5 fucking, days or, weeks from now or whatever, he is proven to be 100% right in that specific instance. And I'm like, fucking okay. I take back what I said. But I just don't get it. I don't get it. How is this beneficial to the American population when illegal immigrants are taking the low-skill jobs and the H-1B visas are taking the high-skill jobs? And there aren't very many, like, fucking medium-skill jobs out there, okay? What the fuck is a medium-skill job, even? Right? What is that? Soon enough, we keep going down this list, they'll import people to take the medium-skill jobs as well. So what are Americans supposed to do? What are white Americans supposed to do? We live in bum houses on fucking paycheck to paycheck, looking for more jobs, looking for more work, trying to build up the place that we fucking grew up in, Ben. Because the only thing that's going to make this world better is if there are people who stayed in their fucking, in the area that they were born and build it up and make it something worth coming to. Okay? That's what they did with New York. That's what they did with fucking New England. All right? That's what they did with America. The United States of America, the entire history of it is going through the frontier, all right? Doing that jazz, the fucking wild frontier, badass. But do you think that New England, people just fucking left? People just exiled themselves from New England because there was a new frontier to explore? No! People were born and raised in New England, and they made New England a better place for the rest of the fucking world to want to come to 200 years later, and then they died there! They fucking died there! Because they built it, they grew up there, they built it into something worth the next generation living there, and then they died there. Okay, Ben? I understand that you don't understand this, all right? You have a little different ideology in your head. That's cool. That's cool. But a part of the American fucking system, a part of the American project is very simple as this. You have the right to work where you want to work, do what you want to do as long as it doesn't hurt, as long as it doesn't infringe on the rights of others, and express the belief that you want to express. That is the core of America. And then you add on all these fucking details that everybody came in and tried to twist and turn the fucking ideology of what Americanism is supposed to be, and then we end up with supporting H-1B visas when we're trying to get rid of immigrants. Trying to get rid of illegal immigrants, man. But I'm sorry. I am the issue here because I want white Americans to do better. And you know what? A part of me hates saying white Americans because of the fact that people could be like, oh, what are you, a racist? But I mean, at the end of the day, those are the people being targeted. Because you know what, something? There's DEI hires for black people, for Spanish people, for motherfucking Asian people even. But even Asians are getting kicked out because they're white adjacent, which is probably why I like them a lot more than other races, because of the fact that they are seen as white adjacent. So they're like the fucking Hungary in our Austria-Hungary or some shit. Oh man, I love historical humor. I'm not even sure how accurate that joke is, but I mean, it's true. It's true. Okay? White people are targeted by all sides now. It's not even just the left anymore. You have these old guard right-wingers who think that the way that things used to work is the way that it always will work. And I will admit that on the morals, okay? The actual morals themselves should be rooted in Christianity and what Jesus teaches us. That is what should not change. But the process, the equipment, the policy, that is an ever-evolving, revolving door, okay? Just constantly swinging around, swooping around, and then it gets bigger, gets smaller, changes, does different things. Sometimes some stuff goes in and stays in. Sometimes some stuff goes in and immediately slips back out because it's a fucking horrible policy, and I'm hoping these H-1B shits will be the same exact way. But no, we're not even done. We're not even done. Mr. John Goddard here This right here is something that so many white fucking Americans deal with, right? And not even Americans, white British, white Germans, white French, white Belgians, white Dutch, white Luxembourgians. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what the, you know, like Netherlands, Dutch. I don't know what that is for Luxembourg, but I like Luxembourg. It's a nice little city-state, you know what I'm saying, with a few. But I'm gonna read this for you, and this is very, very important, okay? This is very important. John Goddard says, I don't recognize the language being spoken on my train anymore. Not a single conversation in English for 40 minutes. Not a single conversation in English for 40 minutes. Let me see something real quick. Mr. Goddard, where are you from? Where are you from? Perhaps it's a good thing you don't put your country of origin here. But I mean, it doesn't matter. English speaking, whether he's in the UK or the USA, there is zero reason why this needs to happen. I look around and realize I'm the foreigner now. In my own country, on the train line I grew up on. And if I mention this, I'm the problem. Exactly. Exactly. And then you go through here, the comments are fucking perfect. You know, what's it like living in the UK? I can't complain. Oh, that's good. No, I mean, I can't complain. I can get arrested. Like, literally. And then this fucking pussy, James, whatever, says like, arrested. Yeah, because you want to sit there and say arrested, say that is indicative of him having poor policy rather than actually attacking the argument. And then you keep going down, surrounded by fucking, you know, brown, black, yellows, whatever. At least I'm not a Nazi. Yes, exactly. Right here. Why should Pakistan be for Pakistanis, but England can't be for the English? Exactly. That is the core question that every single fucking white man in the Western world today has. Why are they allowed to keep their shit, but we can't have our shit? Why is our shit seen as awful, disrespectful, and evil, but their shit is seen as, oh, well, it's just humans being humans. It's just them doing what they want to do. Oh, but then they want to come over here and change what we have into what they have, and then they say, oh, it's okay. At least I'm not a Nazi. You know what? Fuck you. I would rather go into public and Sieg Heil 7 times than let illegal immigrants come in, take our jobs, steal our fucking money, rape our women, and destroy our culture, okay? I would rather Sieg Heil 7 fucking times in public wearing an SS uniform because of the fact that you want to sit there and import people who are going to destroy everything we've ever built and then call me the Nazi. Call me the problem, the racist. I'll accept it. I'm good. All right? Sure, I'm a racist. Sure, I'm a Nazi. I don't give a fuck anymore. And so many people out there don't give a fuck either. And that is, I think, is the beauty of what we're seeing. I think that is the beauty of what we're seeing in the modern culture. People are not giving a fuck anymore. And I love it because we have, like, everybody understands. Nazi is just a fucking pejorative now, okay? Nazi, fascist, racist, fuck you, okay? See, nowadays, I don't trust anybody who says that stuff. I only believe if somebody's racist, genuinely racist, if they, instead of saying racist, say, yeah, you know, John, he doesn't exactly like black people. He doesn't think he thinks they're inferior to him because he's white. That right there is how you sit there and get people to understand. And even then, the left has probably done that shit too. So I'm good, unless I hear it from his own fucking mouth, and even then, I'll probably buy him a fucking root beer, bro. Shit, I'll sit down and talk to you, disagree with everything that you say, and then we're good. But the left can't do that. The left can't do that because they would rather shoot you in the fucking face if you sit there and even have anything that's slightly fucking right of left. If you're not a hardcore fucking communist who wants to give everything that you own to these fucking illegals who would rather destroy you, if you don't want to do that, you're a fucking fascist. If you don't want to partake in fascism, you are a fascist. If you don't want to sacrifice your entire livelihood towards even legal, if you don't want to sacrifice your entire livelihood towards legal immigrants, illegal immigrants, doesn't fucking matter. If you don't want to sacrifice your entire livelihood to that, you're the problem, and you're a communist, and you're left adjacent because something, you're the issue. Because we need, you know? And that's the part that is the most sinister. They're promoting this as a necessity. They are promoting this as something that America cannot live without. And we've lived without it for hundreds of fucking years, okay? We've lived without it for eons. Now all of a sudden something's different because it's 2025 and everybody has a fucking phone and everybody can record videos and everybody's fucking ideas can be posted onto here. The AI in Metal Gear Solid 2 had it perfectly fucking right. These own little pools of truths leaking out into the internet. No one is invalidated, but nobody is right. And at the end of the day, we need to fight against this shit. This is it. This is it. Jesus reigns supreme above all, okay? And if you're going to sit here and tell me that Jesus would be okay with importing 600,000 people who are going to destroy our culture, destroy our economy, destroy everything that we've ever fucking had, and yes, by the way, I'm using the destroy the economy argument because these people siphon and destroy, like, look, let me tell you like this, right? Obviously, they're going to pay, you know, rent, food, stuff, all this stuff and everything. They're going to pay for things in the economy. But you want to know where the majority of their money's going? Back to India, back to China, back to all these different places that they sit here and come to America to have the opportunities to siphon our resources from. The only thing that these people want to fucking do is come into America, work off of the backs, the blood, sweat, tears, and body parts that have been ripped from us. Not even in wars, just in the fucking factories. People losing arms, losing hands, losing fingers. People getting their shit wrecked to support their family. These people out here doing the hard blue collar work that these fucking leftists don't ever want to do or even step foot near. These fucking true Americans, okay? And yes, the majority of them are white, but not all of them are white. You have true Americans who are of every color, race, and creed. So let me ask you, Mr. Shapiro, let me ask you, are these 600,000 people coming in more American than the Americans that are here? Because I'm not an ethno-nationalist. I am not a supremacist when it comes to white people. I don't believe that white people are superior exclusively off of the basis of our skin color alone. I do not believe that. I believe that white people are superior because we have a superior fucking culture. And I believe that non-whites can come into white culture and then they will be superior as well. All right? But no, I'm the fucking racist here. I'm the fascist here. I'm the communist here. I'm the righty here. I'm the leftist here. But you want to know something? I don't give a fuck, right? Because I got respect for Ben, for putting in the hard work. Everybody at the Daily Wire. I got respect for all of them, for all the hard work that they've done. And I wish zero, repeat that, I wish zero ill will onto any of them, all right? Even though the only one I really like is Michael Knowles. That's besides the point. Zero wish of any kind of harm to happen to them. But I also am going to point out right now, Ben with this take, President Trump with this take is out of touch. They do not know what the modern system is like. They do not know what the modern culture is like, okay? The only thing that they know is what they've always known, and they refuse to push forward and try something different. And the only reason I say that is because of the fact that it's like, when it comes to these certain things, dude, when it comes to this, it's like, how can we sit here and support replacing American citizens when you sit here and have a pro-America first in your ideology, right? MAGA, pro-America first. I don't know how Ben Shapiro feels about pro-America first. I wouldn't be surprised if he wasn't. But at the end of the day, America first. First. That means Americans get first pickings on jobs in America. I don't give a fuck if they're not trained. You train them. I don't fucking care if they are the lowest IQ motherfucker available. You give it a shot. And if they can't learn the job, then you go ahead and take them out. And then you import those motherfuckers. But you have to give it a shot with Americans first. And you have to keep trying. There are 300 million Americans. And every day, Americans are looking for jobs. They're graduating college. They're graduating high school. They're becoming adults. All right? It doesn't just take 15, 20 years for a generation to happen. It happens every day. And you always have to keep trying, keep going for Americans. Keep trying! Because when you stop trying, that's when you stop giving a fuck about America. And I don't give a fuck if people call me a radical, call me extremist, call me exactly what the fuck you want to call me. Because at the end of the day, this is what's required to save America, okay? I'm not saying that I have all the answers, but I guarantee you that importing 600,000 fucking H-1B visas from enemy countries is not the way to save this country. It is not the way to save the job market, the economy, the culture of America. Okay, because I'm sick and fucking tired of people saying that America doesn't have a culture. No, it does have a culture. You just don't like it because it's majority white culture, okay? Yes, coleslaw and mayonnaise and all this weird gross shit is a part of American culture. Just because you like to put 90,000 spices on your shit doesn't make us boring. It makes you too fruitful, okay? Makes you too fucking flavorful. Fuck, man. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of my people, okay? And you want to know something? I never identified with whiteness before 2020. I never identified with it. And then it's been a slow creep, and now I am the monster you see today, okay? And again, not supremacy. I do not believe that white people are better than other races just because of their skin color, just because of their genetics. Genetically, on the DNA level, we are the same. No matter your race, no matter your color, every single human has the same DNA. Therefore, every single human deserves the grace of God, deserves the love of God, deserves what Jesus told us to say to every single other person who's not trying to harm us, which is Jesus loves you, and we're going to be kind and cordial to you. But if you try to attack us and you try to smite us, we will destroy you with the fury of 1,000 suns, okay? Turn the other cheek was for words, not violence. Somebody cracks me in the jaw, I'm breaking your neck. Somebody punches me in the stomach, I'm crushing your testicles. I don't give a fuck. If you harm me in any way, shape, or form, or anybody that I love or care about, or anybody that's even near me, alright? You do that shit, you're getting smited. And I'm sick and fucking tired of people sitting here not being so fucking furious about this shit. This is something that is worth getting angry over, because this is the future of our fucking country, all right? And this right here is exactly what will destroy the future of our fucking country, are people who claim to be on our side, and yet they sit there and do policies and propositions for things that would either support the other side or are not for us. And I'm not sure how Ben Shapiro feels about MAGA in and of itself. Sure, he doesn't have to be pro-MAGA, but if you live in America, you have to be pro-America. I don't care. If you live within the borders of a nation, you must support that nation or you're exiled. I don't care. I don't care if that's extreme, okay? Because we've seen what happens whenever people who don't give a fuck about the country live within the country, all right? Seen it with Nazi Germany. You've seen it with Soviet Russia. You've seen it with fucking IJA, the Imperial Japanese, okay? You've seen it everywhere. You see it with Britain now, and you see it with America now. These low-faith actors who would rather sit here and import illegal immigration, who would sit here and try to siphon your tax dollars to pay for a communist system that will never fucking work. And then you got the opposite side of it, where they want to legally import labor, cheap labor, to fucking take you out of the market, okay? And then siphon your tax dollars to sit there and pay for that shit, all right? And then if you ask Ben Shapiro, yeah, we should send money over to fucking Israel. How much? Until Israel is not under danger anymore, which will never happen, because every fucking 10, 15 years, for some reason, Israel always seems to come up and say, oh, Israel won't exist in 5 years if somebody doesn't do something. Well, you know what? Don't let it exist. Defend the Holy Land. Put a strip out to the sea so that we can actually have it with full defenses, that entire strip, and let Israel go, all right? Let them do whatever the fuck it is that they want to do. Protect the Holy Lands, okay? The holy artifacts that are Christian in nature, okay? Maybe Jewish, I don't know, but protect that shit. Protect the Holy Land. Jerusalem needs to fucking be Christian, all right? I don't care. Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Nazareth, all of those historical cities need to be under Christian protectorates. And yet Israel wants to sit there and say, no matter what, oh, we're under threat, we're under fire. Well, if you're so under threat, is that missile system working for you? It is? Okay, well then, how about you shut the fuck up? You know? Shit, man. Why aren't you making your own money? Okay, why can't you afford your own defenses? Why do we have to siphon our own resources to pour money into a fucking nation that keeps trying to sit there and say that it's under threat of not existing in the next 5 years? Said it in the 80s, said it in the 60s, said it ever since Israel was fucking founded. But no. I'm anti-Semitic because I don't think that we should support Israel. I'm anti-American because I think that we should train Americans, and yeah, it's going to cost more. It's going to cost more for the fucking people that have to train them. But once you're done training them, the costs go down. You know? Because because if there's one thing I've learned playing grand strategy games, is that it's an ebb and flow. It's back and forth, okay? Just because costs spike up doesn't mean that they're going to stay up, right? Especially if it stays too high, and then people just say, fuck it, I'm going to go to this other business that does your stuff at a way cheaper price and is way better. Like, if McDonald's went up to $15 sandwiches, they would go fucking out of business because all these other places would fucking sit here and pick up the slack. And okay, let me rephrase that then. If McDonald's went to $15 McFlurries, $15 small fry, $15 Happy Meals, $30 sandwiches, $47 quarter pounders, some outrageous fucking number, okay? If they went to that, they would go out of business. If they went to that and stayed there, they'd go out of business, is what I'm trying to say. Because all these other places would come in and be like, bro, our sandwiches are still like, $9, $10 a piece. Come over here. You can get some fries and a drink with it. But no. I don't know what I'm talking about because I don't have a fucking degree in finance, I guess, or I'm not a businessman. I'm just a fucking chump on the internet who wants to start some kind of ideology to help people, to give people an alternative to the fucking Nick Fuentes out there who fucking stands Stalin. Don't support Nick Fuentes. He stands Stalin. I'm not joking. On his fucking interview with Tucker Carlson, he said he has a picture of Stalin on his wall and he looks up to him, okay? And I know I'm sitting here saying, I like the aesthetic of Nazis. I like the uniforms, okay? I like the way that they presented themselves. But you wouldn't catch me dead supporting Hitler. No, sir. No, sir. No way. I say nay. But no, I would never be caught dead doing that, even though I would love to wear a uniform, like remove the swastikas and then wear an officer's uniform. I would love to do that because it's fucking stylish and it's cool and I like leather. But I wouldn't be caught dead supporting Hitler. No, absolutely not. And somebody who's trying to consider themselves the new voice of the right wing, the new voice of this modern right wing of these young men that are getting pushed forward, he is the one who people are trying to push as that new top spot to maybe replace Charlie Kirk or something. And he stands Stalin. This is where we're at now, ladies and gentlemen. The left wing, they support communism wholeheartedly. The right wing, they only support communist figures. They only support the figures of communism, right? The guy who's trying to take the top spot of the right wing is sitting there saying that he supports a communist. Stalin! And it's not even about fucking communism. It's about the fact that, no, it is about communism, but it's not about the ideology. It's about how the ideology is portrayed and how it pushes forward. Because if somebody just sit there and said they were an autarch, right, and they just preferred autocracy, that's very similar to monarchy. So I'm like, okay, you want autocracy? Cool, whatever, it is what it is. Autocracy, monarchy, that's not always down for bad. Even dictatorships. Even though I don't believe that we should have a kind of dictatorship of some odd, because the monarchies have some kind of royal power to them, right? They see themselves as a subject of God. And the dictatorships are usually atheistic. Usually. Very rare exceptions. El Salvador is fucking whooping ass right now, bro. I tell you, they're whooping ass. And they need to keep whooping ass. But no, Nick Fuentes trends. Nick Fuentes trends on fucking politics. And he stands Stalin. He idolizes Stalin. Did you hear what he said on that fucking podcast? Even if it wasn't idolized, even the fact that he sat there, he talked about a picture of Stalin being on his wall and he smiled and he laughed. That's what I do when I look at the picture of me holding my nephew, okay? I look at that picture and I'm like, he's grown up so much, it's crazy. That's what Nick does to fucking Stalin! That's what Nick does for Stalin. And he's the one who's going to be the new right-wing leader, is what people are trying to push him as. But I think he's far too fringe. And maybe I'm too far fringe. But at this point, this is what we need, okay? This is what we need. And I'm trying to give an alternative to Nick, because Nick, he's not racist, but he has some funny fucking ideas that do not need to exist. He has some funny fucking things that he says, right? He's true on a lot of stuff, but it comes from the wrong place. He's an anti-villain of the right. Don't forget that. He is the anti-villain of the right, okay? He wants to sit here and say that we need to do these things, which we all agree with. We need to be pro-America, America first and everything. Have Americans have these jobs and have it's all great. It's all great. But he wants to do it through a white ethno state, okay? And if it's not a white ethno state, it's at the very least a fucking state that I don't want to live in, that nobody rationally would want to live in, okay? Because I've heard him say some wild fucking shit, and I'm good. I'm good. I don't think that he's Hitler incarnate. Of course not. But I think that there's something there that if it goes mainstream, it'll be the opposite side of evil and intensity of the leftism and the communism, okay? That's the way I see it. The Groypers, Nick Fuentes, that shit. I don't wish no ill will upon him, and I would love to debate him and talk about him in a rational, civil manner. I'm being hype right now, but that's for entertainment, okay? I would love to debate him in a rational and civil manner and figure out how he really thinks. But all I'm saying is I think the only reason he's popular is because he's sitting there saying, oh yeah, no, I believe, you know, like, I have pride in my whiteness. And that is something that is very, very, like, people are just absolutely famished. They are starving for somebody to sit there and say something about white people. And you want to know why? It's very simple. The left says that every single racial identity except white people is valid, and white people need to feel bad. The right, you know, historical black colleges and universities, these various Latino-based things and Asian-based things. Where's the white-based things? But there is no white-based things, because that's just how America was. America was white, and you want to make it less white, and then say that the white people can't identify with their whiteness in this new country that is having all of these other different groups and races coming into it, and now it's a huge Mod Podge instead of majority white. And yet you say that the white people can't identify with their race. I identify with being white now, but I don't think that I'm superior to anybody else just because I am white, okay? I think that the culture is superior, but a culture isn't a race, all right? A culture is not a race. Anybody can adopt a culture, all right? A race cannot change. So if anybody thinks that other people are inferior simply because of their race, they are fucking retarded, okay? They are absolutely insane and stupid. That doesn't change the pattern recognition, okay? I understand the pattern recognition. What I just said does not change that. Simultaneously, though, it's a culture thing. It's not a race thing. It's a culture thing. And you can't sit here and tell me that all of those fucking EBT Americans having fucking wrestling matches and, you know, suplexing each other in the fucking grocery store because their EBT ran out and they're trying to fight over the last fucking steak or something, you know? You can't tell me that that's not a product of shitty black culture. And not black people, I would never say these kind of damning things about Brandon Tatum. Fuck, dude. I always have a list of great black commentators in my head, and I always forget when I go to fucking list them off. But, you know, I can do the channel names, like Officer Tatum, Black Conservative Perspective, Anthony Bryan Logan, even the Hodge twins, even though I don't agree with most of what they say, like I did earlier today with the whole, you know, Epstein stuff. And you just got plenty of fucking black people who are coming up. Bryson Gray is another one of them. I would not even dream of lumping them in with the fucking black Americans who would have boxing matches and fucking MMA matches in the middle of a grocery store, okay? I wouldn't lump them in there, you know? But at the same time, we also have to understand that they still grew up in black culture. And there is an inherent, like, divide between black and white culture. And even if you go, like, for example, for me, there's plenty of shit that I still do. There's plenty of shit that I still do because of the fact that I grew up very liberal, right? I was very leftist, I should say. Liberal's not, no, I was quite left, you know? I grew up in the church, and then I turned left, and then I came back to God during COVID, right? And there's still things that I do that are very kind of like left, right? In my personal life, everything that I, you know, just for my minute-to-minute life, there are things that I do that I wouldn't consider right-wing, but that's mainly because of the fact that I, what do you call it, subconsciously retain the behaviors that I had when I was a lefty, I mean. And that's the same way with anybody who raises up. And there's something about black culture where even if you leave it, you know, if you were raised in it, if you leave it, it is very hard to keep it gone, right? And I think that the people I mentioned earlier, you know, the Officer Tatum, Black Conservative Perspective, Anthony Brian Logan, Hodge Twins, Bryson Gray, I think that once you leave that culture, it's hard to keep it gone. And not just about black culture, about any culture, right? That's why people who grow up racist, you know, it's like sometimes it's hard to get them out of that racism because they by the time people hit like their early to mid 20s, that's whenever their mind like solidifies, you know, and they're like, okay, I've gotten this far doing this, so we just need to keep doing this. And if somebody has gotten that far and they haven't changed, and you know they're 23, 24 and still a psycho leftist, but then after the fact, they're like, you know what, this shit just ain't right, man. Because you see, I changed when I was 17, 18 years old. 19 years old, I think. Yeah, 19. I was 19 years old when I changed, so I still had a few years of change. So that's why I am, like, right in the middle of all this stuff, you know? Right in the middle of all this stuff. And I'm not sure if I consider myself a centrist. Because I used to believe in things on the left. Like, I used to believe in, you know, like, look, let me tell you, as far as I'll go, I believe that we shouldn't be killing homos. We shouldn't be killing homosexuals. We shouldn't be, you know, persecuting people based off of identity alone. Simultaneously, though, I am so staunchly authoritarian that I don't know if I can consider myself left. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I get it. People hear authoritarian and they're like, oh, that's a bad word. It's only a bad word because people have propagandized what authoritarianism really is. You know, authoritarianism is like violence, okay? It's neutral. It all depends on where you use it. Because with violence, you can rape a woman, or you can shoot a dude who's trying to rape a woman. With authoritarianism, you can enforce a rape culture, or you can use the military to stop a rape culture. Same thing with the insurrection, okay? That's why I'm so mad that Trump hasn't just sent out the National Guard 2 months ago. Okay, I understand it would look bad, but it's already looking bad, and every day it looks worse. So send the National Guard, smite down the fucking insurrection, okay? Use the proper authority that you have the right and the legal pathway to do, President. Do that. But no, they won't. They won't, because they would rather prioritize 600,000 Chinese H-1B visas coming into this fucking country instead of, you know, prioritizing American people, prioritizing training Americans, prioritizing our safety and security. As he said in the MAGA doctrine, make America great again, America first. This isn't America first. This is China first, okay? Because what we're doing is we're bringing, yeah, and you know what, let me tell you this, right? Let me tell you this. We cannot guarantee how many of those H-1Bs are going to go back to their country with the information that we've given them. And then automatically we're going to sit there and watch them surpass us because they have a higher industry, because they have more people and slave labor. And then they take our information and our knowledge. So combine infinite industry with slave labor, with the influence and intelligence and the knowledge of American, and you get the highest producing nation in the entire world. And you want to talk about America being on top? They will never be on top again if China and these other peoples are allowed to import, or export, for them in that case, 600,000 fucking H-1B visas. Okay? Because if you ask me, there's the possibility that all 600,000 stay, but there's also the possibility that all 600,000 go back. And if all 600,000 go back, we're sending them back with higher information. We're making our enemy stronger. Is that what you want to do? We're making our enemy stronger. And the only thing that's going to happen is that our enemies are going to be able to surpass us, undermine us, and replace us, okay? That's all that's going to fucking happen. Because you give them the information to be stronger than us, then they're just going to invade. It doesn't fucking matter. If you sit there and you import these people to create Tomahawk missiles, what we're going to do is teach them how to make Tomahawk missiles, okay? And if we teach them, why aren't we teaching Americans to make Tomahawk missiles? And I mean, it is what it is, though, man. I've been going on here for far too long. Let's get to the final things that I was wanting to look at. Mark Ruffalo being a filthy commie. This one right here, and this. Oh, that was heartbreaking, dude. Right here. I replied to this actually. I have one nephew, and we think the second nephew is, I'm not sure, but we have one nephew who is autistic, right? And like every single day, I am grateful to God that my nephew gets to look at me and just say, "Hi, Uncle Jackie. Hi, Uncle Jackie." I'm sorry, they say Unky. Hi, Unky Jackie. It's adorable. But if I was in Iceland, I wouldn't be able to hear that. If I was in Denmark, I wouldn't be able to hear that. And fuck, in the US, it's even horrible like that too. Fuck, man. That really got me so upset. It was horrible. But then we go, Ben Shapiro, you are the problem. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not sure if Ben Shapiro is saying that we're the problem, but he's definitely not acting American first right now. This is him and Trump. This is not America first right here. Christian Hines, I just recently started following this guy. I like what he's doing. I'm going to read this out because I wanted to read this, and I'll just give an honest reaction to it, and then we'll end it here. I think I'm going to cut my streams down to about 2 hours now. I wanted to do 3 hours, but if I go to 3, fine. If 2, it's whatever. But hey, I will say, with Christian Hines, is that what I think it is? That is the Austro-Hungarian flag. I love it so much. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't a flag. It was the Austro-Hungarian civil ensign. Okay, let's not spread misinformation now. Okay. All right. Take one more drink of my root beer, and then I will read this out. So I have a crystal mug. I have a crystal mug that I just recently found. Since I moved back to my home state, I've been living with my dad again. And I didn't know they had this mug. And I've been filling it with root beer, drinking it, and it's probably my new favorite drink. The only issue I have is that the lip, like the circle where the hole is far too wide. So every time I go to drink it, it leaks like root beer or whatever down the side of it. And that sucks. If any of y'all have any tips about about not leaking the drink when you drink from a mug, you know, and yes, when I say mug, it's what you think. Old school beer mugs that are giant. Oktoberfest mugs, that's what they are. It's just clear and crystal. I love that so much. All right, let's go ahead and read this. Sorry, I love root beer. I love it so much. My favorite drink. All right, Christian Hines says, yes, liberalism dissolved our inherited world. Yes, the neutral state turned out to be hostile to traditional Christianity. Yes, we need a government that openly promotes a positive vision of the good. I agree with that, because I think that liberalism is different than traditionalism when it comes to American politics, right? You have liberalism, which basically says, hey, you should be able to do whatever you want, versus traditional Christianity, which would be saying, hey, we should have restrictions on things that we do so that we don't sit here and fall into these sinful behaviors, right? And then he continues on to say, but post-liberals are not just saying, give us the state, we'll fix it. They're pointing out that the enemy already has the state and they are wrecking it, right? Yeah, exactly. I don't think I'm a post-liberal. I'd have to study it more. I don't know what I consider myself. All I know is I'm a Christian, I'm a monarchist, I'm a capitalist, and at the end of the day, it's just, you know, I love learning new things and I love studying stuff, and it's wonderful. And then he continues on. Almost every post I've seen critiquing post-liberalism over the last few days, excuse me, fuck, presumes the old Lord Acton quote that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But power does not corrupt because all men are already corrupt to some degree. What power does it reveal who you truly are? That's what power does. It reveals who you truly are. And it does not follow that because all men are corrupt to some degree, and therefore no man is ever fit to wield power. Exactly! Honestly, I feel like that's why I'm a monarchist, is because I've always understood the idea that power doesn't corrupt. I have been given plenty of power in my life. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. Sure, I've made a lot of mistakes. But there are many situations in which I've been given power, and the only thing that it's done is reveal who someone truly is. And whenever I have power, I try to help people, whether it's coworkers or family members or whatever. If they give me power, I use it to try to help people. You know, you give fucking Elizabeth Warren power, Bernie Sanders power, they use it to institute some kind of communist state that's gonna fucking ruin the world. He continues on to go saying, power is always being wielded in one way or another. The question is, who is wielding it and to what ends? Yep. So Donald Trump wielding power to sustain America through genuine policies that are going to actually help, you know, actually help people out instead of just taxing everybody 70%. Yes, if Trump was absolute monarch and he had full absolute power, I would prefer him who wields it and wields that power to help the American people, because that's what he is doing, compared to the left, compared to voting in the left, who would sit there and use their power to destroy the very people that voted them in so they can have their kind of dictatorial, totalitarian state that's full of communism. Classical liberals assume we can return to an era where decisions aren't made, power isn't wielded, and the crown and scepter of sovereignty can be placed on an empty throne with everyone in the room agreeing not to rush for it. We can't do that no more. And as he continues on to go say, I was literally about to say this, I'm not even entirely convinced such an era ever truly existed. But even if it did, it's impossible for us to return to such an environment today. Yes, exactly. I don't know if that ever truly existed. Because at the end of the day, the things that we've seen happen for eons, in the name of classical liberalism, has ultimately came down to just let everybody do what they want to do, you know? I can't be a liberal. Not anymore. And I mean like a liberal, not a leftist. A liberal. I can't be a liberal no more. Libertarian. I can't be that no more. You know? Because at the end of the day, I've seen far too many things. I have seen far, far too many things in this world that people would just say, oh, if you just unban everything, everything will be fine. Yeah, and we should get rid of the age of consent too, right? And that'll make pedophilia fine, and people won't actually be pedophiles anymore if we get rid of the age of consent, right? People will stop being drug trafficking and human trafficking, and, you know, people will actually sit there and care about their fellow man if we just make everything legal, right? No, what's going to happen is if you make everything legal, you're just going to have open crime. Or it wouldn't be crime, you're just going to have open shit. So if you want to sit there and you want to get rid of the age of consent and just make pedophilia legal, okay, you're going to have underage brothels. All right? That's exactly what you're going to have. Same thing with human trafficking, sex trafficking, gun trafficking, drug trafficking. The only thing that's going to do is you're going to have cars going straight through the center of town instead of through underground or through drug mules. The only thing that you're going to change when you unban everything is the way that it's processed, okay? The same way with the way you ban everything. The only thing you change is by the way that it is processed. So the way that you have to think about banning something or unbanning something is this. Does banning it do more good than keep... Because let me tell you like this. Weed, I don't think that that's something that should be banned. Granted, I don't think that everybody should be smoking it all the time. I don't think that it's a miracle drug. I think that it works for certain people and it doesn't work for other people. But at the end of the day, when you ban weed and you say that, hey, if you're caught with a joint, you're going to be doing 2 years, The only thing that does is put it underground, and then people get it from shady situations, and then when they smoke a joint that's laced with fentanyl, they OD and die. Instead of being, and I'm not saying that we need dispensary on every corner. No, of course not. At the end of the day, if a guy gets some weed and he wants to sit there and, you know, sell an ounce to his buddy, you know, he shouldn't be fucking thrown in jail for that, in my opinion. And I only have this on weed itself. Every other drug, you know, every other hardcore fucking drug like cocaine, meth, you know, all of those, that should be banned. The only reason I'm not so against weed is because I've seen how it can be good. I've seen the benefits that it has. And all I'm going to say is meth does not sit there and make somebody less angry on a dime, okay? I've witnessed it personally. People, worst day, absolute horrible day, super angry. They smoke a joint and they get buzzed. Or they get straight up high. When it's like, you know, 7, 8 p.m. and they're winding down to go to bed, so they don't have anything else to do. And they smoke a joint or two, they get high, and they're like, man, I don't even know why I was angry, dude. That was fucking stupid. And it genuinely was stupid, and they can, like, be real about it. But also, at the same time, weed is not for everybody. It makes certain people who smoke it, it's, like, way out there. And, like, there's horrible things that happen. I saw one time that somebody was smoking weed and fucking ate a guy, right? Now, granted, it might have been laced with something, but at the end of the day, who's to say that in his mind he wasn't already cannibalistic? But then when he smoked, he lost the filter that sat there and said, you know what, we shouldn't do this. He smoked and was like, tasty human meat. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, there's plenty of things that I do with that too. Not as bad as like cannibalism, but you know, I shouldn't know if I should upload this video. I shouldn't know if I should stream today. The past 3 days, I've not been high. I've not been buzzed. But I will tell you, many times in the past, I have stopped my career starting because of the fact that I was always afraid and very anxious. And there were multiple times where I did get high as shit and then either made a video or made a stream, you know? And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that everybody should do it. But I'm also not saying that that's the bad thing, the worst of the worst. That's besides the point, though. All right. Final 2 paragraphs. I'm going to read them at once. Nor can the state be silent on metaphysical questions about truth or justice or virtue. Again, Donald is assuming that it's possible for a world to exist where the state has no role in enforcing a particular vision of the good. The irony is that he himself has a moral orthodoxy that he wants the state to enforce, and that orthodoxy is liberal neutrality. So even if you have neutrality, that in and of itself is a role to enforce a particular vision of good. So the way I see it is, if we're going to sit here and enforce anything, we might as well enforce the law of Jesus. Everything that Jesus tells us to do. We might as well enforce that if the government's going to be... Because the only alternative to government not enforcing anything is anarchy. And I do not believe in anarchy. Anarchy is ridiculous. We need some kind of governmental structure. It just needs to be small. And it just needs to be done in a way that isn't invasive. And that's why I despise communism. Because communism is literally the opposite of it, right? It's that the government controls every single little thing in your life. And I cannot fucking stand for that. I cannot stand for that. Final paragraph here. Unfortunately, liberal neutrality is not neutral. We've seen where it leads us, as our current state-enforced vision of good is universal gay race communism. Exactly. Exactly. Because if you're going to ask me, liberalism is very weak. Liberalism is very easy to take over because people are not enforcing a certain ideology, so therefore the intensity of it is already at low. And then when somebody comes in, high fucking intensity, they just steamroll the liberals, because liberals are like, just let everybody do what they want to do. And then when a fucking fascist communist comes in and says, no, we're gonna take the government and force it to do all these different things, and you're not gonna stop us. Even if those liberals try, they just can't match the intensity, and it is such an uphill battle. Meanwhile, if you have a guy who's leading, who is intensely Christian, intensely fucking spiritual, intensely fucking political, and intensely driven to enforce some kind of vision of good, it's going to be hard to take that down. You know, if you have a Kaiser and he's enforcing something that he believes that Jesus would be proud of for him to do with a small government structure, and doing it with the highest fervor and intensity that he could ever fucking muster. The only way you're going to take him down is if you entirely take over the country or you kill him. That's it. And that's why they killed Charlie Kirk. That's why they killed Charlie Kirk. Because exactly what I just described is Charlie in a nutshell. Okay? Yes, there was a lot of aspects about Charlie, and humans are more complex than just our political beliefs. But at the end of the day, Charlie was literally and genuinely, and then he did, willing to die for his fucking cause. But I mean, you know, we should just sit around and let these black conservatives sit there and say, oh, you need to know what the right form of conservatism is, man. We need to let these fucking Jewish conservatives say, hey, white Americans, you have fucking no experience, no training, and our fucking universities are indoctrinating you. And look, when Ben sat there and said, yeah, we should fix it, I'm glad he said that. But I also think that the solution to what it is that we're trying to fix, he is entirely doing wrong. He is entirely going towards the wrong way. There is nothing in my mind that he is not... There is nothing in my mind that convinces me that position is pro-American. Unless you can give me a detailed list of every single fucking thing that this guy said. And not even just him, Trump, the policy, that's what I'm trying to say. If you cannot give me a detailed list of the policy and what it is, I cannot accept it. And I'm not saying that has to happen for everything, but if it does not make sense on the surface, that is when you have to deep dive into it. And Ben, Trump, this shit does not make sense on the surface, okay? This shit does not make sense on the surface, so you have to give us more details. It'd be like if I was president, and then I'm like, hey, you know what we're gonna do today? We're gonna lower the age of consent to 15. Fucking what? Fucking what? Just like that? No description, no nothing? And I'm not trying to sit here and compare pedophilia to immigration, but at the end of the day, it is that strong of a change, that giant of an unreasonable position, in my personal opinion, and at the end of the day, you have to describe it and justify yourself if it is that controversial of an opinion, all right? The only reason it would be okay to just throw it out there and walk away is if it was for Jesus, because everybody here knows that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and if you don't believe that, you're wrong. You are wrong. I'm tired of going like, hey, you can believe what you want. Nope, you're wrong. Jesus is the only way, and that's why I get so pissed off at myself whenever I fucking sin. That's why I get so mad whenever I sin, because I know that Jesus is true, and he's up there watching me, and he wants me to do good. And yet I sit here and do horrible fucking shit to myself in the name of it feels good. Yeah, it's fucking disgusting. And yet I don't know, I struggle to stop myself. And I know there are a lot of people out there like that. And the people, you know, the part that I hate the most, there'll be a lot of people out there who would be like, oh, you just need to, you know, you just need to stop doing it, you know? You just need to fucking stop. And yes, there are things that we can do to stop it. And I'm not sitting here saying that it's all hope lost, because if Jesus can save me from the depths of the fucking ghetto, he can save me from a porn addiction. But at the end of the day, addiction is addiction. Yes, there is spiritual stuff, and it is a spiritual battle. But that spiritualness also comes with physical ramifications. It also comes with physical happenings. You know what I'm saying? It comes with something that affects our body. So whenever somebody has a porn addiction or something, I don't sit there and go like, what, you watch porn? Because first off, Jesus wouldn't want us to fucking do that. And secondly, it's fucking horrible. Addiction in general. I wouldn't go to an alcoholic and laugh at him for being an alcoholic. I wouldn't go to somebody who has a fucking meth addiction and say, oh, you fucking loser, you're just doing meth. I mean, people gotta understand, the euphoria that runs through your mind when you go through this stuff is as strong as like drugs, okay? It is as strong as those things that people get addicted to. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that, you know, the level of high from meth is the same as a level of high from porn. No, absolutely not. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that euphoria, it is, you get hooked onto it and you constantly have to try to keep going towards more euphoria, more euphoria, more euphoria. More. Higher doses, more extreme content. And then you find yourself looking at the most degenerate, debased shit you've ever seen, and you wonder how you got there. For meth, you take one shot. You're on top of the world. Next time you take one shot, it's not enough. You take 1.5. And you keep slowly escalating it, and then you find yourself sucking dick in a dirty alley for a small little shot just so you don't have to be sober. Well, I think it's time for me to go. I think that I've done pretty decent here. I'm enjoying this, and hopefully I can reach more people, because I know there are people out who think like I do. I just need to make sure that I can do this to please Jesus above all else. And honestly, I'm thankful for anybody who listens, anybody who wants to come here and watch. Make sure that you follow, you like it, you subscribe, all that goodness, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, it's just, I have a lot of fun. It's pretty good. And all I'm hoping is that we can save this country, because I don't hate Ben. Simultaneously, I also think that Ben does not have America's best interest at heart. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me, but a part of me feels like Jews don't have any allegiance to anything except their Judaism. You know what I'm saying? Judaism, whatever the fuck, I don't care. I just don't think that they have an allegiance to anything other than their Judaism, just like with Islam. I don't think that they have allegiance to anything other than Islam. And that right there is something that you have to watch out for. Because if people sit in here and they can, like, people can lie. We all understand that people can lie. So people will most likely lie. And Muslims do it all the time. We are just poor, innocent Muslims. We just want to enjoy the Western world and come in and contribute. And then they get there and they rape your kids. I thought you just wanted to contribute. Aren't you just an innocent little immigrant? And then just, shut up, infidel, or we're going to cut your head off. But I'm the bad guy, and I'm the racist for not wanting to import people who would rather kill us than work with us. I'm not saying that we have to sit here and disrespect Xi Jinping. I'm not saying we have to sit here and disrespect all these different leaders, different countries. But at the end of the day, there are different cultures, and I have zero respect for a culture that is either anti-God, anti-Jesus, anti-human, or anti-human rights. And if you ask me, the core of what America is all three of those. And human rights are only there because they were given to us by God. And if you forget Jesus, you forget human rights. You forget Jesus, you don't acknowledge the deity of Jesus, then the only thing, why is it so fucking echoey? The only thing that's left is everything that humans can do. And if the only thing that humans can do without the influence of Jesus is hurt people, destroy people, kill people, murder people, rape people, take resources. Because Jesus commands us to build and to love. But humans want to destroy and take. Don't forget your human roots, bro. Don't forget those fucking roots, man. Because that right there is what is going to cause the fall of man, you know? And hey, at the end of the day, we'll be closer to Jesus if we end up fucking this world up. But while we're here, we have an obligation to do what's right and to do what's necessary for our people, for our families, for the future, and for our country. Okay? Just because we are a Christian nation doesn't mean that it's exclusively Christian. Now, granted, something like Halloween, I don't fucking like Halloween, but at the end of the day, don't forget Jesus, what Jesus gives us, what his laws are, what he commands of us. You forget that, you forget humanity. And then it makes it really easy to other somebody and to put somebody down if they don't agree with what you say. And then, oh, you import 600,000 Chinese visas to fucking wherever it is. And then white Americans, where you're living, whenever you say to Ben or whoever, hey, all the jobs are gone. What's up with that? Oh, we had to import 600,000 Chinese people because we couldn't find Americans to do it. Wait, but here's my resume towards the coding. I applied and they said that I couldn't do it. Well, maybe you just need to get better. Perhaps maybe you should just leave the town that you've been living in your entire life, where you got your diploma at, where you got your fucking wife at, where you live at, where you've made your base. Maybe you should just leave there because there's no jobs. But it's not my fault. I don't give a fuck. That's right there is exactly what they're telling you. Even if you're qualified, even if you're willing to be qualified, even if you're willing to be trained, even if you're willing to sacrifice everything that you have to do it for a company, which I don't recommend, but even if you're willing to, it doesn't fucking matter because you cost too much. It doesn't matter your loyalty. It doesn't matter what you feel about the company. I could go and work for A&W for the rest of my life. A&W, my bad. I said AEW, fucking not wrestling. I love wrestling, but no, A&W, the root beer company. I could go and work for them for the rest of my fucking life. But if they get if they get a monetary incentive to import people who are going to cost 80 to 90% less than what it costs to hire me, they're going to throw me out in an instant. And I don't mean A&W like the actual country. The actual company. I just use that as an example because I like root beer, you know? I should have used Barks. That was my grandpa's favorite. Anyway, I've been ranting on enough. Point being, reject this infiltration of America and stand firm on your identity. I don't care if you're white, black, Muslim. No, I care if you're Muslim. Fuck Islam. But if you're white, black, Mexican, I keep saying Mexican. Fuck. Latino, white, black, Latino, Asian. Have pride in your identity, but don't put other people down because of theirs. That's all I got to say. All right. Have a good night, guys.